wanted you to watch them all.
I wanted to. I really did actually want to. It was um, it was the pick beforehand. The not this. It was the one with I can't remember her name now. Shit, it's not
Tilda
Rachel's
Swinton?
pick. Is yeah, yes. With the is it movie or what's the play on it? It's the
Oh, the
BFI.
BFI player, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think BFI is available in Asia, and it's like I tried to do it. I was like, oh, it's not. It's like I think it's region locked. So I was like, oh, fucking all right, whatever. Then
That's
it's
a
just
bit
like
low,
Oh,
yeah.
though.
yeah,
Oh,
I,
Haven't finished
I
that one
hate it.
yet.
Considering how much money they put into Asian cinema, I'm really surprised it's not available in Asia.
maybe it was just maybe it was just because like I needed like a VPN or something. It's just like it's my own like problem. I guess I just couldn't do it because I downloaded no I bought Lemony Snicket, but I forgot to download it onto my phone. So I was thinking, okay, I'll watch it when I'm on the plane. It was like, oh, there's no Wi-Fi, isn't there? Fuck it, fuck.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that was smart of me. I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay, watch it. I like that. I quite like that film. It's just like I can't remember it on the top of my head, but I remember enjoying it because I remember watched it at cinema with like I think I watched it with John. And I was like, oh yeah, it was a pretty good film. But I was like, so it is now a question of whose pick was this pick? Was it yours, Corey?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, hey.
Say the line,
Why did
Simon.
you-
Make your big
Oh,
return.
sorry.
Oh, oh, um, oh, right, yeah. Hey, Corey, why did you pick this film?
Whoa!
Uh,
Yay. He's
I should have
back.
given John.
I used to tie to
Um, yeah, so for this pick, there was a couple of reasons, a few reasons. I did want to do something that was a big departure from my first pick, which I think I did. And I also felt it was like the appropriate season, you know, it being October, and it's definitely one of the darker, spookier, horrifying movies on my list. And yeah, it just like but most of all, like what I love to pick is something that just has made a huge impact on me, and this is gonna stick in my brain for the rest of my life. Like I don't remember seeing anything quite so impactful, like just like visually and the music and the slow kind of like subtle burn movies are like usually a hard sell for me. So that as well as like I was just so impressed with like how well done it was and how like captivating and um it's just like it really struck me big time. So yeah, but that being said, so I really want to share it with everybody. But as well as like I'm looking forward to taking a break from it because it's just like really dark and intense too. So I'm sorry, but I hope some everybody got a little bit out of it at least. But yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, just really impressed by it. Yeah, and for my enjoyment score, I have to say some movies I wouldn't say I technically enjoy them, but I would this one I like appreciated very much. But yeah, yeah, that's it basically.
Have you seen Zone of Interest?
No,
So that was
is that another Jonathan Glazer? I was trying
yeah,
to look at his other work.
yeah. So that's the film that he did the speech at the Oscars for. So he won an Oscar for it, and then because the film is about like it's basically about like Nazi Germany and being a Jewish person in Nazi Germany. When he won the Oscar, he stood up and did a speech about Palestine.
Oh, oh wow,
Yeah,
awesome.
but yeah, I'm gonna say something that I might upset Pat with, and It kind of reminded me of Antichrist.
In what way? Explain.
So like obviously it wasn't quite as like shocking as Antichrist, and like there wasn't kind of like quite as explicit imagery in it, but I think
Pat's gone.
I think thematically it was quite similar. Like the whole thing about kind of like, because I think there was a lot about, well, at least I interpreted there being a lot about kind of like our connection with nature and sort of how, because the whole thing with like her more or less kind of like, I don't know, it sounds like a bit of an icky word, but like for want of a better word, basically like devouring people. Like it's kind of like that's basically the cycle of life, right? Like it's like all nature feeds off something else that's living. Like it's just, yeah, that's how the world works, kind of thing. What?
Are you trying to say she's a man-eater?
More or less.
Is that how you interpreted that? I always.
I thought it was trying to make a commentary on kind of like the whole thing about how like everything in life feeds off of something else that's alive, and like to be alive you kind of have to take the life from something else. Like it's just how the world and the ecosystem that we live in works, right? That's how I was reading it, which made me think of Antichrist. And then that shot towards the end where like you've got the trees and then like it kind of like there's kind of like a layered image of her on top of the trees, and it's done in a way where it's at first it kind of tricks you into going like, oh wait, are the trees in the formation that looks like her, and then you realise it actually is her. That kind of reminded me of the Chaos Reign scene.
Okay. Right.
I
Okay.
get what he's trying to say. Yeah.
Right, but I didn't.
That's not the this film. Definitely not. That's quite clever.
But like that's definitely not like how I saw the film. The film is very much. I mean, like within the first 5 minutes, I definitely knew this film was about illegal aliens or immigration straight away. Within the first 5 minutes, well, actually, or the first scene. It was the scene, literally, the beginning of the movie starts with a woman getting put into the back of a van. And I'm, I wonder if she's being human trafficked. That was my instant thought. Then watching the rest of the film, I'm like, this is 100% a film about illegal aliens and like race and stuff. This is 100% this film. I thought it was a bit. Heck, I even thought it was a bit on the nose, which is the problem. This is the reason why I think my score is probably one of the on the low end. I was like, is this film supposed? It's very artistic in its own shots and stuff, right? But I feel like the art subject was a bit broad, if you know what I mean. It was like very like harsh strokes, where it's like, okay, you don't really need to like put it, like shove it into my face about it. I get what you're trying to do, especially with her being in the white van, her being a white van man and going around everywhere. It was a bit creepy. That's like, I mean, if it wasn't Scarlett Johansson, it would definitely be creepy. But like, because it's Scarlett Johansson, it's okay. Not really, but like you go in. But it's like it seemed very in your face about without making it sound, it was like it almost seemed like it had like a political sort of like thing about it. But we'll get into that once everyone else does their intros, because it's like for me it was literally about it's alien race and human race and all races in general. I was like, oh, I see. Yeah, but like I would like to see everyone else's opinion about it as well.
That's interesting. I didn't really read it as being about race.
Oh, there's lots of points on that. Oh, but yeah, we'll get to.
I'm not saying like you shouldn't have, but yeah, I didn't read it like that personally.
Yeah, it's that's I was looking forward to this. It's because there's so much room for interpretation in this. Like there's a lot, like there's a fair bit that they give you, but then there's a lot left to our own, thoughts and interpretation. So it's really going to be fascinating to hear everybody's take on it. I did think for myself, like I saw something like kind of like, yeah, like human trafficking or sex trafficking, with Scarlett Johansson being like, the bait and capture. And oh, and Rob, you said you kind of interpreted her as like consuming these people. From my interpretation, I thought she was like working for somebody else, like she was being used to capture these people. And I didn't think that she was the one that was getting the benefit of or of their bodies. And
Mhm.
like I thought the skins were going to go somewhere else, but
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of was similar in that regard, actually. Sorry to interrupt. It's kind of like
Oh,
what the way I saw it was that there was two ways that this, because I feel like it was so clever and so very very subtly introduces the other character in the beginning of the film, the guy on the bike, the biker, as he's kind of like her male counterpart. And it's like Scarlett Johansson's female. She uses like sex as her seduction point of getting her victims, and he's more like a hitman type, and he uses his brute force and like stuff like that sort of thing, male adjacent kind of like to get the victims he needs. He uses his way, and they're both basically drones working for another being, a queen, you could say. And that's how my interpretation of it is, that they're both doing different tactics to get the same goal, and she's using the female seduction to get these people, and he's using just brute force, and both of them get what they need to do, but obviously as it goes on, she kind of gets dissuaged from it, and things change, and it's very very interesting, and I feel like it's a film that more you see, it's more like, oh, actually there's a lot of nuance there, like the nuance you mentioned about the sex trafficking, which is quite very subtly done with the use of like the transit van as well, and two people working together to get the same goal. And obviously Simon says about the whole interpretation of like immigration, and just like the foreigners in a strange land just trying to adapt into like society of that they're like it's alien to them, foreign to them. And it's, yeah, Glasgow. What was it, Glasgow or Edinburgh? Well, it's just somewhere in Scotland. Um,
yeah,
yeah, they're
Glasgow.
both,
Yeah.
yeah, and they both have to do something that's very completely foreign to them, but they kind of like do it in a way that's kind of like you wouldn't really guess unless you really looked at the final deals. So there's a lot of interesting ideas in this, and it's really cleverly done by the performances and the writing. Um, but yeah, this film is very very disturbing in a lot of ways, and it's very effective and very kind of thought provoking and unsettling at the same time. And there's moments in it I did find really unsettling, and I feel that's brilliantly well done. But Jesus, it's incredibly horrible. And yeah, for many points in this film, I was like, I wouldn't change it, but it's just something I was like, ugh, this isn't nice. And there's one point that I do wish they did change, but I'll get into that later. But overall, like Scarlett Johansson's performance, especially how she kind of like becomes kind of like she's quite like she distances herself from the victims at first, but as the film goes on, she becomes kind of like she becomes more empathetic, she becomes more human, for want of a better word, and that kind of is her downfall to a point, but it also humanizes her at the same time. And it's kind of, yeah, there's a mixture of emotions that's like, yeah, there's so much going on, but that's going on in our character, and yeah, you feel for her, but damn, it's just like it's not a pleasant journey. That's for sure. Yes. Sorry, Emmanuel, did you want to say something? Oh, muted.
Yeah, I'm on mute. So I've got voice isolation on, so it's okay. Go ahead. Um, I don't know if maybe in the past I heard some things when I first, or the description of the film or whatever kind of thing. I didn't really read anything about the film, but I know I heard kind of it was an interesting and different film. That's all I kind of remember from here in the past. That wasn't that like it's not exactly a mainline film you recommend to everyone. Um, as soon as it started, I said as soon as it started, yeah, as soon as it was getting into, it, I was like, is she an alien or an alien succubus? Like, I'm just like, okay. It. On a side note, the men who were lured into the cars, they weren't actors. They were actually him told afterwards, "Oh yeah, this is a film." So at some point they're told it's a film. It's just like, man, the way they
Oh,
did this film,
I didn't know that. That's more
That yeah,
convincing
that's
than
that.
it was. Jeez.
I did
To be
wonder
like, oh
about
yes, Scott Jensen. No, wait, what?
I did wonder about that because there was a moment where we paused it, and you have that X-ray thing on Amazon Prime. So one of them
yeah,
was credited as himself, and I was like, "But who is he to be credited as himself?" Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
It
that
was a
explains
motorcycle
a
Red
lot.
Johnson, yeah, I know him.
Someone, yeah. It was a
Yeah,
motorcycle or whatever.
Jimmy Smith and Fred Johnson, they're iconic.
Yeah, really, I had learned that somebody had told me that, and but like I get it for like the intro scene where like they're just like initially talking at the band,
Yeah.
but truly they're led on to know like for their second scene, when they go into the black liquid and stuff, they've got to know by
yeah,
then,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
Oh yeah,
definitely.
that's a good
It's
point.
it's
Yeah,
it,
that's on
yeah,
set.
yeah. It's just to get it into the car that at some point, like either after the car journey or the car they're towed. I'm just like, man, they really just and someone did raise a good point, like reversing a lot of roles and some of the kind of feminist themes that are in it, and how a lot of guys don't necessarily worry about just getting into a car if it's a lady driving it. Don't get
Yeah,
me wrong. I am too. I'm very suspicious. I'm sorry. I'm not a suspicious person. I find
sus.
many things suspicious. I can't. What's the? How would you say that? I'm a very. Is it?
You're,
What?
you're sus.
Cautious?
just be cautious.
Yeah.
You're you're cautious.
Yeah. I'm
Cool.
a very cautious person. I
Yeah,
think there was a.
you've got common sense.
Yeah. It's a superpower nowadays.
Yeah, not many people have it, especially Americans.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
mean, we would
very, very important.
think a point like this came up in, was it the last film or one of the last films? About me like, nah, this person's too suspicious. I would not be doing this. I don't blame the other person, but if some lady is she asks me for directions, then she just start like asking me information, and I'm just like, do you want direction or do you want to talk to me? Like, what is going on? Like, it's that way. I've used Google Maps. It's that way. Yeah. Have a good day. I gotta go. I'm walking on. It just feels strange. Like, why you? I don't know. It's just obviously she does her role very well. This is why it feels strange because she's not doing things in the. I feel like in the average way a person does, and it's all just a bit off. So I would
Yeah,
also feel a bit like, huh?
but that makes sense. Well, it makes sense for her character because she is alien
Exactly.
and she does things a bit alien in her own way. Oh wait, oh yeah, because you're sorry. The thumbs up thing happened again. I was just like, oh yeah, because you're on mobile. I was sorry,
Yeah,
yeah, because it's definitely her approach to when she
Yeah.
approaches the guys, which is the reason why I say it's about like uh, race and immigration and stuff, is because she asks the question of like, sorry, where are you from? Are you from a local? Or if she's like, where she asked that question a bit too much, and it was like, what is her? I realize it's her programming because of like, oh, well, we'll get to that anyway. It's like the way that she sets up the questions. It's like, oh, because of her like, well, because of what she is, and she's like trying to go, oh, okay, so is this a potential target? Is he by himself? Actually, no, there's a woman with him calling his name. Obviously, he's not by himself. Okay, we'll move on to the next target. I was like, oh, it's very methodical in its sense, but it's like, oh, it makes sense. It does make sense. It's just a bit.
She's testing that all the victims, isn't she? And I thought that was quite
Yes.
clever what you mentioned.
Whether they
Is
were
that-
we missed or something like that.
Yeah, she's like figuring out who these people are and what they would be in society of where they live. And it's like, oh, yeah, they're their family, check. Have they got somewhere to live, check. Do they live alone, check. It's all interesting. And it's like, she picks them up. But I think one thing that's really kind of struck me when it was like, obviously you mentioned the reversal of like women being the victims and usually in this sort of situation, and men being, it's like she's behind the wheel almost all the time, and that she's got power, she's got control of the situation because she's behind the wheel of the van, and that could kind of like insinuate what Emmanuel was saying is that I don't trust this person. She has this big van. She could do whatever she wanted to do, but these guys obviously they're like they're typical guys who's like, oh, it's someone like as gorgeous as Scarlett Johansson. I'm gonna go in the car. I'm gonna go in the van. It's like, yeah, someone like
Next thing you
probably
know,
me
a
and
whole
Pat would
bunch
be
of people
quite,
jump out.
yeah, it's like, yeah, would be like seduced by it, and it's like, oh wow, she's it's Scarlett Johansson. Wow, amazing. But and then before that, too long, it's just like, oh, actually, this is quite quite a thing. So it's just like it's quite clever how they use that because it's usually they'd kind of make her look like weak at first, but she's already quite in an imposing position, being in the van itself and being able to drive wherever she wants, and she can lock them in and she can do what she. And it's kind of like the men in this situation don't have the realization of this fact until it's too late. So it's it's quite interesting. A flip of the rug, you might say.
And what kind of made me think even more so throughout the film? Sorry, I'll finish in. When the first victim, you have like going in the water, it made me think of the succubus in American Gods. If anyone has seen that, it's
I think only I have.
Yeah, it's a good show. I've seen.
Great show, great show.
Yeah, she has a universe pretty much within her. That's the
Oh,
whole
no, the
thing.
scene you mean? What happens in that scene? Yeah, bloody hell.
Yeah, that's something else. But it kind of made me think of that. I'm like, oh, okay. So she is something like this from another world. Okay, cool. And then the creepiest moment where the first guy pops like a balloon, and that was pretty creepy. Done very well. Freaking creepy.
Yeah.
Um, I was just like, man, these visuals. And then seeing the kind of red light and the kind of bloody, gooey, whatever stuff it was, I was like, yep, being processed. Whatever, for whatever purpose, they are being processed. But anyway, it I found it a strange one the whole time, and then it was it was weird when things started being flipped back to, I guess, how films usually depict a woman in this kind of situation. And I was just like, wait, what's going on? But it's kind of weird because it's like she doesn't look like an alien, even though I'm like, she is an alien, but she's going through all this horrible stuff that no one should have to go through. But she also just killed a whole bunch of people. But then that was, I guess, just part of her mission. So I'm just like, what the crap is going on? What is going on?
Oh,
It- it-
think I've got an artistic explanation for that, but we'll get to that in a second. We'll have to get to like
Yeah.
Pat and Rachel first, if they have opening statements.
And then to finish it off, so just one after another, kind of like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. All right, cool. And then at like the horrible scene, like at the end, and just like, yeah, I'm not enjoying this. Of course. It is like, the little kid left by himself, the little baby left
Oh yeah, that,
by himself. I was like,
yeah.
ah,
That was so dark, dude.
That was really hard.
just
It's a
like
bit
this
sad.
is really setting the tone of this film. I'm
Yeah.
just, what am I watching? What's happening? What's the point of this? How different is it from the book it's based off of? I
Oh
don't
wait,
know any.
there's a book based off this.
I didn't know that.
This is
Yeah.
based
Yeah.
off of a book
Oh,
called
sorry,
Under the
yeah.
Skin.
Oh,
Yeah, which is it's got pretty much the same premise. So it's the 2000s
Ending's different.
science fiction novel by Michael Faber. Set in Scotland, and it tracks, it follows an alien who manifesting in human form drives around the countryside, picking up male hitchhikers whom she drugs and delivers to her home planet. And it was like my Faber's shortlisted. Oh no, it was one of his it was his debut novel and shortlisted for an award.
okay.
It ends
So-
differently though. It's not the same ending. I don't think.
Cool.
Okay.
I would love to hear everything you know, because I know nothing. 'Cause
Well,
Yeah.
I've not read it. I just was reading about it. It's not. I think the ending in the book is that falls for someone, and then the handler, I guess, the motorcycle guy or whatever,
yeah.
is after her, so she kills them. She kills herself and the guy, or something like that.
Oh.
That she likes, or something like that. She kind of like sacrifices
Oh.
herself. I think that's what I quickly read, but I'm not 100% sure. Someone
Oh.
might need to check that. But
I
I'm sure the
thought
ending
it
is
just.
Nice.
I was just hoping it became like Night of the Body Snatchers. I'd be like, everyone just points and goes. I'll be like, oh, okay, that explains the origins of that movie. Okay, but like,
in
yeah.
the book,
Oh, that
in
would
the book also does have a. I read she has a name. She's given the name Laura in the book, which is obviously she doesn't have a name in the film, but she does in the book. Yeah.
So to read the ending, just to kind of clear it up before we move on. So she's forced. So Scarlett Johansson's character is forced to pick up one last hitchhiker, a man who insists on needing a ride to see his girlfriend give birth and mentions reincarnation on the way. I don't know. Driving faster than usual, she gets into a car accident and her body is essentially ruined while the hitchhiker is thrown through the window. And she ponders what will happen to her body as she must activate an explosive that will destroy all evidence of her in the crash. She thinks her atoms and particles will become dispersed in the environment and air. Okay, kind of like that shot at the end. At peace with this thought, she hits the switch to activate the explosive. Man,
Okay, so she kills herself,
What
but
a
she's not
way
enough
to-
for anybody.
So like Terminator 3 ending. Okay, weird.
That's a reference I didn't expect.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Rise
yeah,
of
I mean, like,
Machines.
yeah. Sorry, yeah. Rise of Machines, yeah.
Easy thought.
Do you want to
How
go
about you?
next?
Yeah, can do.
Go for it. I'll go for it.
So Rob's sort of interpretation, what the film reminded him of, was quite interesting because I can actually see that,
Whoa.
but in sort of a good way. It's more in terms of the production style, but I also saw a bit of that David Lynch film that I hate in the style as well.
Shit, what one was it? Eraserhead.
Yeah. But I only noticed it during this watch because obviously I've seen Eraserhead now. I saw the film as sort of like a social experiment. So like the alien thing had Scarlett Johansson as like a suit. So it's obviously studied, this is what I gathered, that it studied like humanity from a distance. And obviously needed... it's quite a one to explain, to be fair. Like, it's very housey. But basically what I got from it was the alien needed sort of sacrifices, I guess. And it studied humanity from a distance and then conjured this form, which ended up being Scarlett Johansson, and sort of started luring men because that's the way men are in this film, how men are sort of programmed to be sort of like all they need is like a little hint and then they're all over her. So she then lures them in. And I thought that was it was a really neat way of doing the whole thing. But then as the film goes on, the alien gets a bit, I don't know, I think what Ben said earlier, there's sort of like a human side to the character. And then obviously the scene later on in the film where the bloke was trying to rape her, which was quite disturbing, just sort of shows the flip between the first half of the film and the latter half. I to be fair, I still need to watch it again because like I think it's one of those really complex films that you're not going to quite get everything in a single viewing, and I've only seen it once previously when it was in cinema, and I saw it completely differently then. But I really like the idea behind it as more of a social experiment. I didn't really see a racism thing in it, but I mean, now that I've got that implanted in my head, like next time I watch it, I can probably look at it from that viewpoint. But no, I think it's a really interesting film. I think like Corey said, like when you put something down for enjoyment, it's not necessarily how much you enjoy it. Like The Skin I Live In is kind of like another example of it, where I watched it and was just like blown away by it. Like I wouldn't exactly say I sat there and I was like, oh, this is like high quality entertainment, but it's one of those things that's like so interesting with the way it's written. The production is phenomenal. Like I love the setting, the soundtrack, the sound mixing, the sort of, well, I wouldn't say costume design because there's not really much way of a costume apart from, unless you're going to call Scarlett Johansson a costume. But no, there was so much about production that I absolutely loved, and sort of the atmosphere of it really pulls you in. Very different to your last film, but I'd say just as good in different measures. The only thing is, I don't think I have a favourite scene because it's it's got a depressing feel to it.
It is also kind of just like one scene. Like it's very like,
Yeah.
you can't really separate.
I
Yeah.
mean, like the scene is Scotland. I don't know if that's like it's like, yeah,
I think
it's It's Scottish. I don't know. No, I never said Scotland's depressing. I just said the whole scene is it's in Scotland, and it's just like I can't define it anything else apart from it's Scottish. I just like
It's fucking Scottish. That's what it is.
Both into Glasgow. I don't think we had that bad of a time.
I thought Glasgow was quite pleasant, personally.
It's this London, but colder.
I went for
yeah, pretty much yeah.
I went for football or something else, and ended up at football.
What was that?
I definitely have a most impactful scene. Like, I'll be able to say something later about that.
Oh, I've got two actually, so yeah, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a favourite scene.
I had the scene I liked the least, but like, oh sorry, go.
Oh yeah, there's definitely one of those as well.
This director actually made that many movies.
Yeah, yes.
I think it's only 3 mainline films he's made, and I've seen 2 of them.
What apart from
Brilliant.
What was that? Sorry.
Sexy Beast with
Yeah, that's the other one. And then Zone of Interest.
Who's
Why did you it's the nearest accent to you, Ben, and you sounded South African.
I was trying to be Cockney, but it fucking wasn't working, was it? Sorry, I'm derailing the call. Sorry, ignore me.
It was East End of London and more District 9.
Fucking prawns.
But no, like Sexy Beast is actually on my list, so at some point I will pick it. Like it's a really good film of his. But the other film that Rob mentioned, I haven't watched it, but I have put it on my list of things to watch because I'd only actually heard of it when I went through his filmography the other day.
Oh, you didn't know about it before?
Really?
Nah.
It was like
The Oscars, but I haven't. However,
Yeah. To me, I saw it at London Film Festival last year, and yeah, I struggled with it just because it's quite similar. So it's like because it's about kind of Jewish people in Nazi Germany, and it's this kind of style where it's like it's very quiet and it's very just kind of like here's an image and make up your own mind about it kind of thing. I struggled to connect it.
Isn't it got something to do with the Auschwitz stuff, but from the German angle?
It's not really from the German angle. It's from a perspective that's internal to Germany, but it's yeah.
Oh, yeah, like that was something similar to what I was reading.
It's really.
Whenever
do you know what? Like my thoughts on it are very similar to my thoughts on this. Like in concept, it's really interesting, and like I was saying to Rachel earlier, like for me, I prefer a film to leave you with questions rather than answers. Like I think that's a lot more interesting. But there's something about Jonathan Glazer where I'm just like, I don't know. I find him a bit like heavy-handed, because it's a lot of like here's a really striking image, and here's another one, and here's another one, and I'm kind of like by the end of a Jonathan Glazer film, I'm like, man, I've seen a lot of striking images.
You can't really say you had a lot of fun with the film, but I did very much enjoy watching it. So very good pick.
Well, now the question is for you is like because you pretty much bought the Blu-ray for Skin I Live In. Will you buy like the DVD or Blu-ray of this if you want to rewatch it again?
I already bought it.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. That answers my question. All right.
She picked the film, and I looked in my collection. I was like, "Oh, I ain't even got it here." I was like, "Amazon then," and it was there the next day.
Okay, sweet. Does it
Rachel.
have like a?
Give me 1 second. I'll find it.
Of course, Pat's got the Scarlett Johansson DVD. There we go.
Okay, fair enough.
Or Jennifer Lawrence. I'm all over it.
I'm sure you can pick a favourite scene, Pat. There was lots of her bum in one. I literally said to Rob, I can see why Pat likes this film.
She does get a bum out, but I didn't really have a scene that I really liked. Like it was so depressing, I guess, that it's very hard to sort of like a scene unless I'm just going based on how the production looked. But I don't necessarily think that's a problem with the film itself. It's just the subject matter and the story that they're trying to tell. I think that's it from me now.
Awesome.
Interesting you called it a horror. I didn't think of it as a horror at all. I actually found it like, I don't know if I need the word tolerable, but like I think I went into it. I think I said to Rob, how much is it a horror? How much will I find it scary? And he was like, maybe like a 3 out of 10, but I wouldn't even say I was on. I don't think any kind of point of the film I felt was more horror, and I don't know if that's because I kind of had a similar interpretation to Pat around like subversion maybe of like gender roles in terms of I kind of came at it from that perspective, and then like how she was I guess the kind of the threat to men, right? And she didn't, with the white van, she didn't really have anything to really kind of be scared by. She was quite in control. She was kind of there to do one thing, which was obviously to lure men who were obviously quite weak and I guess easy into the van, and obviously then the house as well. And I think even the scene where she had the eyes on the bonnet and like pulling out the window, again, there wasn't any kind of fear in her in a way. She actually looked a bit perplexed as to what was going on. Why were they pulling out her window, and why was somebody? She wasn't actually scared, considering there was a group of men around her. And that was kind of the only interaction you'd see where there was like multiple men, I guess, kind of coming after her. So for me, it was kind of like she was kind of, I guess, being displayed as maybe a powerful woman, but only to an extent, because it felt like the motorcyclist had kind of more work than her, kind of, even though he wasn't doing the work. I don't know if I agree, Ben, that he was kind of like brute force in a way, because I don't really feel like you saw him do too much, but he was more like a control of her and her actions, and she was kind of, there was still a kind of a power dynamic there, but she was, in comparison to like the Earth men, I guess, a lot more kind of superior or kind of powerful. And I think it was interesting because it was only when she met, I don't think he had a name, Adam Pearson's character, she started to maybe feel like a feeling of empathy when they were having a discussion about kind of like prejudice and so on. Actually, I guess her, what's the word, like, that was kind of the second half of the film for me, where maybe you saw that she was not as like powerful in a way, or her emotions she started to develop some sort of emotion, and therefore then to some extent kind of had power, like were gaining kind of power over her. So like even the kindness of the guy in the house, and then obviously the scene with the logger in the forest, for example, it was almost like her letting emotion, I guess, and kind of, I don't know, quote unquote weakness come in, kind of then meant that she wasn't as powerful as she maybe had been in the previous scenes or kind of the earlier half of the film. Production for me was good in the sense that I liked, the room that she took them in, and I kind of thought, well, to what extent is it that for her that's what she sees, but for the men maybe they see something different, because obviously you don't see any kind of the men question the space or the house that they're going into. And so I was like, maybe for her actually exists is a room with like the the water, but for the men maybe they're seeing something completely different, or she's just so beautiful that they're kind of struck by her kind of beauty. But I thought that was quite an interesting choice in terms of sets and kind of keeping the set generally quite minimalist, I guess, similar to the white scene at the beginning as well. The music was good, but then it did start to jar. I think Rob and I were kind of I can't remember what point we heard it, Rob, but we were just like, oh my gosh, this music again. At some point, kind of the the kind of middle end. But I really did love seeing Scotland and the Highlands. I thought that was really beautiful. I like the scene with the fog. I thought was and kind of the trees. I thought it was really beautiful to see that. But I struggled a bit with the music kind of towards the end. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, I thought the ending was interesting because I guess it was kind of like a like cyclical narrative in a way, because I guess where the man had picked up the woman from the, I don't know, bushes at the very beginning of the scene, and then it switched to Scarlett Johansson. I guess I thought, well, this is where the gender thing came in, because I was thinking, well, is it just that she's just another woman who was there to lure men before Scarlett Johansson failed at her job for whatever reason, and then Scarlett Johansson was taking over? I don't know. I kind of wasn't sure if that was kind of the active, all these beautiful women are kind of being brought to lure men for this other Earth or whatever, and maybe it was that's actually why he picked her up and put the woman in the van, and then Scarlett Johansson took her clothes because it's kind of like, well, you've not done your job effectively. So I don't know. There was something there that I kind of thought was interesting. That kind of started and ended in that way. What else was I going to say? That might have been it. Oh yeah, I felt like it was a kind of touching on what Rob said, I guess. I felt like it was one of those films that maybe tried to, when I think it's open to so many different interpretations, that can be a good thing. Then I also think, is it a sign that maybe it missed the mark ever so slightly and was maybe too, like trying to do too much in a way. I don't know if that's, I couldn't like Rob said, I was kind of like, well, I have loads of questions that wasn't really clear exactly why they were here. They're definitely aliens. What were they using the men for? And I don't know if it kind of, I think for me it kind of felt frustrating because I kind of wanted something at least to latch onto in terms of like why they were there or where were the men going or why they needed the men. And I think the fact that it was kind of left open for interpretation, obviously a lot of us here have obviously different perspectives. I think that kind of frustrated me a bit because I wanted it to be just a bit more grounded in something, but I kind of took away the gender point and the kind of subversion of roles is kind of the biggest thing for me, and what it means to like be human or have feelings or want to be part of something and perhaps not be able to, which maybe links more to Simon's point actually about the immigration and race, maybe more so, I don't know. But yeah, that's my opening statement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could talk about the like arc of Scarlett Johansson over the film like all day. I thought it was really interesting and like so much left to just like decide for ourselves, and like maybe too much left. I'm like you, I like something to like kind of like bite into, and I'll be left, if I'm left wondering a lot, then I'll be kind of just a little bit wanting more. But I just thought it was really fascinating to kind of piece together what for ourselves, like what Scarlett Johansson's role is and how she relates to, the men on the motorcycles. And, what I loved seeing is like how she changes over the film. And like, I thought some scenes in the beginning of the film really painted a clear picture of just like who she was at that time. In particular, like as awful as the scene was, with the baby, it kind of showed like what she's starting off as, because she just like paid the baby no mind, and that's like really really explained her at the beginning. And even though she was like, she kind of seemed, she was did seem in a kind of a position of power. She was controlling the band, she was the one seeking out the men, and they were falling victim to her, sure. But I did get the sense that, like, I don't know if she felt powerful or is this that she just didn't know what was at stake being by herself with all of them. Like, I felt like she was very like new and naive and like very much in the position of learning her environment, and observing. We see like many scenes of just like looking at this, we're just seeing a bunch of just like people in their day-to-day lives. Sorry, somebody gonna say something? I'm starting to lose my train of thought already, but yeah. I really did think it was interesting. I don't know, there was a flip, right? Like after Adam Pearson is his name. Like I thought that was interesting how we saw like in her. Before that though, I did make note of when like the motorcycle guy was like standing around her and inspecting her just to make sure that like everything in her, I guess she was wearing a suit, right? So was he like inspecting the suit she was wearing, the human suit? I just thought that kind of painted a picture to me of like what the dynamic was between them, like how he was kind of seemed to be in control of the situation, and she was kind of like under him. And yeah, something about, you know, when she was leaving the house after Adam Pearson went into the liquid, and she stops and looks at the mirror. Something about, from what I saw, something about her seeing herself in the mirror. And I was thinking like before she had seen, I think earlier in the movie, I don't remember her seeing and like really looking at a reflection before this, except to put on her lipstick, which is a really small window of mirror. And so I think that kind of, you hear about that in like different species of animals, like to be able to look into a mirror, a reflection, and be able to realize that it's yourself you're looking at. Like not every species can make that connection. Like they might think that what they're looking at is some other entity entirely, right? So I did think there was something to be said there, interpreted there in that way. And yeah, it was really fascinating to see her transformation of just like breaking apart from what her role was and kind of going on her own. And I did feel like there was a level of just like escape. Like I did kind of get the sense that, you know, she didn't want to do that anymore, and she wanted to go her own way. And it was very, very sad. It was very sad to find out that she was given the human appearance, but she wasn't given the human like anatomy to like live fully human. You know, she tried to eat, she tried to have sex, and neither of those panned out. And it ended up being really bleak and sad. And she did eventually start to emote more and be more afraid, like show more fear, and eventually be really vulnerable. And near the end, I did kind of interpret for myself that she and there was that scene, you know, when she was staying in the man's house where she's like looking at her body in the mirror, her full body, and like really, and towards the end, I did kind of get the impression, especially, you know, before she's killed, she's just like, I got the sense that she was more trying to escape to protect her skin, you know, and you know, you could see her like taking it off and then like looking at her face, which was really eerie and spooky. And when she runs away, she's holding her skin, and like she doesn't turn around. I thought that was interesting, you know, when he throws the gasoline on her, she doesn't turn around to see what's happening. She just like keeps the skin away as far away from that man as possible and tries to run away. Just thought that was interesting. And yeah, that was really sad. But and while I'm talking about that, I thought the like alien makeup and what she looked like underneath was just like really well done. I really appreciated that. It was just like really subtle and almost beautiful and eerie. But yeah, all that to say, I just thought what she went through throughout the film was really interesting and fascinating and sad. So yeah, that's all I would say about that.
It's how to explain. It's I feel like earlier what you said about like with the mirror in her hand mirror and stuff. It's just like it makes sense because when she had the main part of her looking, as in like properly staring at herself, and it was literally just a thing about the interpretation there is she's literally in the most literally self-reflecting, and that's just like again, I feel that's why I said broad strokes, a bit on the nose. That I was like, oh, okay. It was actually, again, this is me interpreting more of the second half of the film. It's like because she had like that empathetic moment where she's like, "What am I doing with these? Why am I doing these so horrible things?" And after she wants to escape and become human. Then after she does and orders that like chocolate cake and tries to take a bite, but it's the whole thing of like, oh, she can't in the most. Again, a lot of the things I felt were quite literal, and it's like, oh, she can't literally stomach it, and that's why she has to retch it out. And it's like, oh, it's literal, it's being literal again. And afterwards, it's the whole thing about her going to the man's house and she has to like check out her body, and like afterwards, essentially, she tries to make peace and like live as a human, but she's like, oh, I literally can't do it because like there's a scene where she got like the lamp from the table and she was checking out herself, and I'm like, oh, she literally can't do it. Oh, it's being literal again. God damn it! Why is this film like this to me? It's like too many. It's again very broad strokes for me, but it's just like it's like the part where she wants to become human and become part of like, well, she wants to live there, and like to her, she was like she went to that little like when she was walking inside the forest, and she was like find that little hiker's hut. I don't know if there's like a term or name for that. Well, you know that little like hideaway hole. It's like, oh, she's just gonna stay and live there, wasn't she? It's like, you know, I could just like hide here and be fine, and I'd be like, I'll be away from people, but I'll still be here. Before, you know, the logger tried to like assault her, and it was like, oh, well, that's the problem for you being like a girl alone in the forest, isn't it? It's like it's not the same with the when you're in the van with the bikers following you around. It's a very different like sudden switch on like your positions. Also, there was a thing about that when we started off with was the one biker, right? I feel like there was more bikers towards the end of the film.
Was
Is
there?
it me? I feel like there was because like at least I saw it was the one guy. Then there was I don't know if it was just because of like where they shot it, but it's like there's a
Yeah,
few
there
more
was more.
bikers follow. There was more, right? It's like
Three, I think.
So,
Yeah,
so
so-
more, are they aliens like her then? Like the first
Yeah.
one?
well, okay,
Like her.
I
It felt like
think
they were her, and they were looking for her because they kept having to clean up after her, or
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I
the
should-
reason.
So
Yeah, they
So-
were
Sorry.
part of their job. Part of the motorcycle guy's job was to clean up after her. You know, like
Mm.
and like erase evidence. I imagine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so
Mm.
I did get the interpretation that, you know, when she deviated from her job and went missing, I did get the sense that they called in more guys to like look for her.
Right.
Right?
Okay,
Well,
that's good.
because
And
because
the
she
reason
was
why,
like, oh,
sorry.
go on, man, you're good.
Oh, sorry, it was a quick one. The reason I was like, why do I recognize him? And I mean, it's not just because he reminds me a tiny bit of Michael Fassbender, but he's also he's a championship motorcycle rider. I'm like,
Oh, okay.
that makes
Yeah, he was playing
sense.
himself. That's what he said at the beginning, wasn't it?
Mm.
Oh, maybe we talked. Oh,
There's
yeah.
multiple people playing. Rob was talking about the two random guys who got lured into the car, the van.
Yeah, so there was
that's-
like, yeah, because the whole thing was that they weren't actors, they were just people who were told that they were in the film after. And that's why I was confused when they were credited as themselves, because I was like, what is it?
Oh, right. No, sorry. When I said earlier, that's the side motorcyclist was himself. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh. Yeah, but it's like because there was like I think because because Scarlett Johansson's like character is like, well, not Scarlett Johansson, but like the like featureless like dull creature that's inside Scarlett Johansson. I think the biker guy is probably the same sort of alien as well, or something similar, and that's why they've been collecting guys. Because when you looked at the guy like Dunn explode, he doesn't like explode. He pops like a balloon, and like all his it's a bit gross. Like the imagery is a bit gross, and like all of its like bits, and it becomes that red liquid and disappears. But essentially, his skin is still well, it's intact technically speaking. So I'm pretty sure the biker guys are aliens that like Scarlett Johansson has like tricked the guys into and become new biker guys. So I don't know if it's like a specific way to do it. I don't know like alien engineering, but like I think that's how I interpret it. It's like, oh, they're like they're taking over because of like she's luring the new guys into the black liquid to take over their bodies. That's why I was like, well, invasion of the body snatchers. Like, so it's like, oh, so that's how they're doing it. But it's just like, I mean, actually, no, there's a lot of how, but there's not a lot of reason of why. And I guess that's the point of it. It's like, I think that's what everyone else was like. It's a very artsy and very interesting way to do it, but there's no bite. There's no like solid. We're grasping at the straws currently. It's like I need something just to say why they're doing it, not just how they're doing it. Just what was the purpose of it? It's like, are they? Is it like aliens just for the sake of aliens? It's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think I've heard this movie referenced as a horror, and I get what Rachel's saying. Like that scene that where we first see what's under the liquid and what's going on, and where the new guy in the liquid sees the older guy in the liquid, and his body is like all loose, and there's a process going on there, obviously, and that snap where he just like collapses and his skin is just empty, then that scared me. That made me jump. I think this movie, that's one of the like more horrifying scenes in this movie for me that I would class as like really spooked me. But yeah, that's one of the scenes as well where like the special effects and just like the visual just like really blew me away and really got to me. Partially, and I forgot to mention also like the sound design. Like what I really loved in the very beginning. It happens twice in the movie where you're hearing kind of like a muffled audio. You're not hearing the whole thing, and I just thought that was really interesting. But yeah, that liquid scene is just really awful.
Yeah, that part definitely reminded me of, obviously, I don't know if there was some inspiration there, but in Get Out and the Shrunken Place, or the Sunken Place, I should say, where literally a
Get Out.
similar
Yeah.
idea, where the main character gets taken into this like dark void of nothingness, and the idea of that alone is scary enough. But and this is just kind of expanded upon in some degree, where you kind of like, yeah, they're taken in as victims. They're not immediately killed. They're kind of like kept alive. They can breathe under in this liquid water stuff still, and their consciousness is still going, and they're still absorbing and kind of like, being aware of the situation that's happening to it. That poor first victim was like, yeah, he knew what was going on, and he could feel everything that was happening to him. He could feel his life force being sucked out of him. And the second guy comes in, he can still breathe and see everything that's going on, and he can see this poor guy can like literally being his essence being sucked out of him, literally. And yeah, that's the thing. It's like what it would be like to be a real victim of a spider, being it's being like sucked out of you while you're still alive, and it's just horrible. And yeah, it's a horrible nightmare fuel idea. It's just worse than death, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm glad they expanded on that and Get Out, because those two ideas, just like, yeah, that's what nightmares are made of.
It's funny that you
You just
mentioned
made it
that,
all
actually.
feeling more real with spiders. Ew. All right, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, no, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was thinking about like the whole thing about how like spiders eat and like how they basically like dissolve whatever they're eating, and yeah, and I was thinking about that, and then I was like, it's kind of weird that she's done this, where it's kind of like, it's not sort of like explicitly saying she is a spider, but she is kind of like, she seems to have the abilities of a spider. depending on
Well,
how
I mean, like,
depending on how literally you take it, right? See, she kind of like
Well-
the imagery is like the same as what a spider does, and then I was like, it's
Yeah,
kind
but-
of weird that she went on to play Black Widow.
oh damn it! I was gonna say that joke. Fuck! I was gonna make that joke. Fuck. I wanted to interrupt you, just make that joke, but like, okay, I'm so glad that you got there in the end. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Already Black Widow when this film was made.
Oh well, Jonathan
yeah.
Glazer is
Just back already. What the fuck?
I'm glad.
How old was the first one? Was this film released?
2013, I think.
13.
Oh wow, okay.
2014 is when it came out. But yeah, I would like to know when it was filmed because like the scenes of the people, and those are real people that they're filming in just the city. It looked a little bit dated, but then again, it's like a
Yeah.
different culture. But, yeah.
Do you know what?
Oh no, it's the UK. It's fine.
Yeah, even Scotland, it's just like London. It's just the same cars, the same shops. It's all the same.
That's what I was going to say actually, because it does feel dated. And towards the end, I was thinking like, is this supposed to be set in like the 90s or something? And then I was kind of like flashing back, and I was like, wait, no, those cars had new number plates. They're all cars from like the year that this was made. Like they're not. And then also the guy with the football shirt, that was like 2013 as well. So I think it is literally just Scotland.
Well, I mean, like they were talking about the referendum, right? So it's like it's definitely, it was definitely the time. And but admittedly speaking, it does because the UK does look all very similar, especially like the shopping malls. When she was going through that shopping mall, I was like, "Oh, it's Lakeside." I was like, "Oh wait, no, it's not Lakeside. This is not the." It looked very similar to like.
When they were on the beach, I was like, "Oh, that's Swanage," and Rachel was like, "No, they filmed this in Scotland," and I was like, "Oh right."
Yeah. The UK looks very similar to itself. It's...
I will be able to go. Emmanuel?
I think that means his connection dropped.
Oh, I was wondering that like exclamation mark.
Yeah, I think so.
I have something to say.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do we know if the book was set in Scotland? So interesting. Only because I read online that there's like Scottish folklore about a particular kind of like I don't know, like creature or something that goes a female creature that goes around preying on men. So I'd be interested. I was just not sure if the book was also set in. Just when you mentioned the spider thing, I thought, oh well, actually, it does. I read something earlier about it being linked to a Scottish folklore. I wasn't sure if the book was also set in Scotland or whether the film director or writer.
I think it was. No.
Okay. Oh yeah, someone said, didn't Emmanuel said, yeah.
So that's interesting actually, because I did think because like I said, like some of it did remind me of Antichrist, but I did also think it had a bit of like an American Werewolf in London kind of vibe, and if it was based on some kind of folklore, then that makes sense. Because even though it was modern day, it did feel like it was like, I don't know, there was just something about it that made me think that it had some kind of like old time thinking behind it.
Yeah, a timeless kind of like thing where like you have this female kind of like, what's the word? A femme fatale that's going after unsuspecting male victims. It's kind of, that's always been there, you're right. And it's obviously something they've kind of played upon more of, just because they can use like the woman of the night. She's a hooker, and she's kind of like using this persona to kind of get these victims. So I suppose that's kind of like the metaphor they kind of going for, just like a literal one. And it's she's just using that idea and taking over people more that way. But yeah, I thought that was quite you could say it was on the nose in terms of she is a woman of the night going after these men that would kind of like would be easy prey. But that's the point, is that they have to be easy prey. They have to kind of like, she has to suss them out and make sure that they're not going to be missed, kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of thought behind it, because they can go after someone quick, easy. They won't be missed, done, and let's move on to the next one. So that's kind of they were going for, I suppose.
Yeah, she's
Decrease.
also wearing a fur jacket as well, which I thought was interesting. Like, yeah, I don't know, choice of
Yeah.
I guess of costumes, the fur,
Very-
and then into the rain mac afterwards, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't hear you, Emmanuel.
And she had the boots with the fur as well.
That's how I heard it as well.
Oh man, that's great. No apple bottom jeans though. Actually, I don't remember. Those are like. Can you actually hear me, or does it sound quite bad?
No, it's fine.
No, we
No,
can
it's
hear you
okay.
all good.
Good.
Cool. It's father-in-law's old webcamera. So trying it out. Anyway, some people as well were wondering if whether the book or the film, or both of them, were inspired at all from this Scottish folklore tale, a female vampire who does the same thing. Goes
Oh,
along
yeah.
at night, picking up guys. Yeah, you know what happens. So yeah, some people are wondering, is it kind of inspired at all by that as well? Yeah, it's an interesting kind of thing about like all the things you can try to unpack. Like while art films are cool and all, or more artistic films, I think I do like some things being a bit more, I don't know, done in a slightly different way or told in a slightly different way. So it doesn't necessarily have to be explicit. I guess I just like to, I guess I like to know more lore. But this is not necessarily the point of this. I get that. But I would like that because when you get into that side of filmmaking or that type of filmmaking, there's even more kind of layers to it. And obviously, there's the two approaches, or there's like two main approaches. There's many approaches, but two main approaches where delivering a message like this and you don't say much and let the person come to their own conclusions, and they could come to a whole bunch of stuff. Of course, it's art. Or you lead them down the path that so they could think in a similar way to you. Even though they will think of different things, they'll still come to a kind of similar conclusion. So, but obviously this is the intention of it. So yeah, also I thought it was a sci-fi thriller rather than because I did remember what you said, Corey. I was like, I don't think this is a horror. I don't remember it being like saying it was a horror. Looking at it, I was like, oh yeah, it's a sci-fi thriller. Yeah, that makes sense. I thought it was a thriller, especially with how it felt. It felt very much like okay, some crap's gonna happen. When is some crap gonna happen? But not in the way you would feel with, I guess, most horrors. But yeah, it did have that kind of, oh no, who's the next victim? What's gonna happen next? Where is this going? Um, I think she did really well with acting Scarlett Johansson. Um, yeah, strange one, but yeah, I think she did really well.
I felt like she was the only one acting. Like there wasn't really anyone. Like it kind of was just like the only
Well,
like she was. To Robert, it was just only Scarlett. When we were giving us scores, I was like, but it was only Scarlett Johansson. I didn't really feel like anyone else did any bit like any.
What?
Any
Yeah,
acting.
everyone else was themselves. So like only
Yeah,
Scarlett Johansson's
yeah.
character was what was I remember there was oh yeah, she's literally just called the woman but like everyone else was themselves. So it's just like, well, they're
Yeah.
not acting; they're just being themselves. Which is actually, I think, Emmanuel, you said the point. This is, I'm gonna quickly skip to like all my scenes that I didn't really like, but it was just like you said these people weren't acting, right? So there was the scene where all like the chavs like tried to steal the van or something, right? So like those had to be actors, right? Or because
No,
like if
those
they were okay, I
no,
was about to
those
say
are
because those were
actors.
the
Oh,
those were the most shittiest thieves I've ever seen. I'm like, I know that she's in a position of power, but like, holy shit, those chavs are like. But she drove away casually. They didn't even try to break the. It was like it was such a pathetic car robbery. I got like taken out of the film completely. There's like no
I
belief in
didn't
that.
interpret that as a car robbery. I
Yeah, I
thought
did.
they
I
were,
think they're just trying to scare her and being silly boys. Like,
I thought
No,
they were
I
just
saw.
trying to just scare that. I think they were. I thought they were just trying to like have fun, like in their twisted, dumb way. And I was scared for her. Like I worried that if they broke a window, what they would do if they got access to her. I did really, and I thought that was an interesting scene to see her how she reacted to that because that's not how the average woman would react to being in that situation. Just like looking around at her, being kind of just like curious about what's happening.
Yeah,
But she did drive her away. She didn't just hang around and see what happened. So,
yeah.
no.
That's actually made me laugh when you look at the production side of it. Because as she drives off, her windows roll down.
She did. Well, she did.
She did put it down. He
partially
did roll it down. He did because he put the hands over the window and was trying to break the window, so she did have it rolled
I
down.
see.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
See, when the
Okay.
guy, like the one guy, like he started by himself, and she started rolling down for the singular guy. And as soon as she had it a bit down, then they all swarmed her.
Also.
That was-
Yeah,
I
that
thought
makes
No, they'll definitely try.
Let's go for it, Simon.
I was gonna say they'll definitely try to like rob her though because the other guy was trying to open the other side of the door. So it was like, oh yeah, it was definitely a robbery attempt for me.
Well, why
That's how I.
wouldn't it could have been like an assault situation too.
Yeah,
You know,
like for
like
fun.
Oh, sorry, Rach. Say so. What did you just say?
I thought they were scaring her for like the fun of what teenage boys would do. Like, a woman on her own, let's like be threatening and be scary, like for banter. Like I didn't take it as they were trying to rob her or get anything from her. I thought it was like, there's more of us here. There's a woman who's on her own. Like, let's put the scarers on. Yeah, I don't think they were after anything, like robbery wise. Anyway,
I think like a group of young guys can see so much opportunity potentially with a woman on her own. Like there is so much possibility there than just a robbery. Like just like harassing her, scaring the crap out of her, attacking her. Like I wouldn't have been surprised if they had managed to get into her car. Like yeah, definitely more than just robbery is possible.
Okay, fair enough. I'll give you that. Okay, but it definitely, my interpretation of it was definitely they were trying to rob her. But like maybe again, too broad stroke for me then. But I was like, okay, that's how I saw it at least. Sorry, but it's like yeah, it was but because the attempt was because she drove away without much emotion, it is a very big like disconnect to the scene because she was like, oh, there's a bunch of idiots. Okay, I'm just gonna drive away slowly, and it's just something about it. It was just like it looked a bit silly. But then again, you guys have explained it was like, oh yeah, because she's alien to it. It makes sense because it's like, oh, this is odd. But like, I'm in control. I can just drive away. It's just a bit silly.
Yeah, I think that was it. I think she was more, like I said, perplexed about what are they doing rather than like I'm scared or feel particularly vulnerable in the situation. I think she's perhaps, like I said, quite used to feeling kind of fairly in the authoritative position. I don't think she was kind of scared by them. But that's why I thought it was interesting that she was scared by like the transition then of when she was obviously being assaulted by the or even the guy was like the vulnerability, I guess, in the final scene with the guy who was trying to rape her. I thought that was quite an interesting, like, so used to be in control, but because she was so far away from, I guess, the house, and maybe there was nothing she kind of could really do to defend herself. So I thought that was quite, just an interesting kind of contrast. In terms of kind of, it felt less threatened in that situation, and more threatened, obviously, one-on-one without the van, without the comfort of the van, without the protection of the van, and without the house, and so on as well.
I think like the beginning in the beginning of the film, she doesn't have my interpretation. She doesn't have like much of a full awareness of like how vulnerable she is in the world and what can happen to her. And she's like more just doing her job. She's just like popped in doing her job, and she is kind of like under the protection of just like the motorcycle guys, I guess. Like they could come in if something went wrong because she was like on doing what she was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, when she didn't register like fear, I understood that as just like she just didn't. Well, she wasn't aware enough. She didn't have enough knowledge about the world yet. Yeah.
And I think it's also kind of like, I don't know, I guess consent, right? In a way that I guess she I don't think she was obviously thinking about the multiple young guys in that way, but I guess with the guy in the house where she was being intimate, that was obviously something that she felt she wanted to do, but she didn't have the consent, wasn't there with the guy, what's the word, molesting her in the, she was sleeping and she woke up in the morning. So I don't really know what my point is, but I guess just the word idea of consent kind of came into my mind there.
She definitely seemed like she felt violated. She was really frightened and ran away. Yeah.
A lot going on there. There's quite a few kind of cool, like, just things about the film. If you wanted me to, if I'm alright to go through it, or did someone want to talk about anything else? Actually, should we go through favorite scenes first, or should I carry on?
I don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind if you
I've got some things, but they can go after. Don't worry about me.
You could go ahead. I think we could make favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Bennett cut out for me for a moment, so I was just like, so what? So Adam Pearson. Sorry if you all know all this already. I found it interesting to go like, oh, that's why he was walking like that. He had broke his leg on the way to the audition. Like he got hit by a cab on the way to the audition. And when he was in the hospital, Jonathan, director, did his audition while he was in hospital. So he's in the hospital, but he did his audition. It was just like, cool, you got the job. Thanks.
Wow.
So that was mad. I was like, okay, that's why he's walking like that. I was like, is this usually how he walks? I was like, I feel like it's not, but yeah. Also, Adam Pearson, he did, so the way the scene progressed between him and Scarlett Johansson, that was majorly influenced by him. So he had a lot of say and influence on how that scene progressed and how she actually went about seducing him. Like to have that kind of scene with him compared to the other guys. I think I might have heard about this next one, but I don't really remember it because it's quite long ago. But until the film came out, most people didn't realize, of course, that when she fell in public, it was on purpose. So a lot of people, it basically became a meme because the paparazzi actually snapped this photo. There happened to be a paparazzi literally just there.
Oh, that happened with Timothy Chalamet as well.
Oh, really?
Exactly the same
How was
thing,
it?
yeah.
What happened with this?
So there's a scene in. So he's Bob Dylan in the new Bob Dylan biopic, And there's a scene where like basically he comes out of a restaurant and like he doesn't get attacked, but like somebody walks into him and it looks like quite a serious situation. And somebody snapped it and sold the pictures to like all of the papers and whatever. And it came out as like this big altercation. And now that the trailer for this film has come out, people are going, "Oh, it was that."
Oh man, yeah, that's the thing when you don't. I mean, that's an interesting one with Timothy Chalamet, but especially with this film, that's the thing when you don't you shoot it in such a hidden way.
Mm.
And it's a famous person, so I mean, I find it funny that the guys who kind of got in the car, did they think in their head, did they think in their head, she looks a lot like Charlotte Scarlett Johansson. She's hot. Oh, but she's not her. Why would she be just randomly in some white van? Yeah, she must get that a lot. I won't tell her she looks like that. Your eyes are beautiful though. Something about your eyes now and your black hair.
I've seen you somewhere before.
But imagine like the like embarrassment if he said something like really flirty or slightly pervy, and then it was kind of kept because they wanted to prove a point for the film.
Oh.
And then you had to like explain that you'd said that to her and you didn't know you were being filmed, but they wanted to
Yeah,
keep
maybe
it.
there's some delete scenes they won't show because of that reason.
Well,
Wow, I'm surprised they got so many to like agree to stay in there.
I wouldn't be
but-
surprised if there was some kind of agreement there where it's like, we're not going to show everything you said, but you have got to get your dick out. So,
Yeah, and it's not just out. Many other things you have to do.
Do we know by what point they were
Oh,
told
man.
that they were being filmed for the film?
It must have been after
I-
the van, like after the van and before the liquid scenes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not clear whether it was like, if it was in the van, like before we see some of the talking scenes, or was it after those talking scenes in the van?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I
because
just-
there's got to be a camera inside the van. Like, are they must
I
be
think they're hidden cameras.
hidden
Yeah,
cameras.
exactly.
Maybe
Yeah.
they thought it was a fake taxi thing. It's just fake taxi. That's what it was.
Oh my goodness, no.
That's what it
Oh.
was.
must have been a really
Oh.
difficult job. Like, if it was hidden cameras, that must have been such a difficult job for the editors to get
Yeah.
like the color grading and everything right.
Yeah,
I
'cause
think
you
that's why
can't-
obviously
you can't disguise it.
Yeah.
it looked the way it did. But maybe it was a case where they got in the van and then it was just like, wait, why's that a camera there? And then maybe that's what it's. Yeah, I am Scarlett Johansson. This is a film. We're just gonna like play this out. Oh, I thought you just looked like her. I think they're using anyway.
I mean, to be
Yeah, with
fair,
the dark hair and the accent and her like just picking up random people and letting them in the van, I definitely would not have thought that was her. So I could see why.
do you know what? I did have a bit of a problem with the accent. This is a constant for me. Yeah, I've got a bit of a.
Because she's not fucking Scottish, that's why.
Well, it's just
No,
it was a bit of
American
a-
English accent just never sounds right to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a bit of a like, cool, blimey, governor, have you seen Willy Wonka? Like, it was just, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, was that wrong? Oh, maybe because there's so many people in my life that do speak like that. I kind of like it blindsides me.
Emmanuel, when you said the bit, oh hi, I'm Scarlett Johansson, I thought you were going to say, and welcome to Jackass. The way you said it,
Oh
was like, oh,
man.
this is a massive turn left.
To be fair though, if
Oh,
they
this-
have hidden cameras and there's no one else in the car, they must have had someone in the very back of the van just in case the guy like, I don't know, locked her in. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I was Scarlett Johansson, I'd be like, what's the protection of me, or what's the insurance that you're paying for me to do this? 'Cause that's like, yeah, it's picking up strangers. You've got to be quite brave, haven't you?
To be
Yeah.
fair, that's
No,
probably
that's a
like,
very good point.
on a practical level, that's probably like quite a nice thing about it being a van is you can have like a whole crew of people in the back.
Yeah, that's
Like, you
a
could
good
basically set up like a mobile studio.
Yeah.
Yep, which is probably what probably really helped.
Mm.
I mean, the part that she hesitated most about doing was the nude scenes, the nude scene. She did like take consideration for a long while before she agreed to do that. Because she's like, it's not really.
No.
Oops.
Nope. He got sent. He got censored. Are you
She
you
was
right?
like,
I'm not used to this, so I didn't put it on properly. Um, but yeah, she's quite self-conscious about herself and her body, particularly, and she knows how she's perceived in the world. Like like for many, they look at like her attraction, her beauty, all this kind of stuff. Um, but she, because of the direction and the artful way they was doing it and removing so much of what you could be described as sexy, it's just like this guy's gonna get killed. This is yeah. This is not like I don't know some Matrix love scene or Eyes Wide Shut or something. This is very much a man. Yeah, they gonna die. This is not meant to be sexy at all, which is
Yeah, no,
which is
no.
good. But yeah, that's also helped um kind of helped her decide to actually do that. Saying that, we could have had someone else, but she was actually one of the only women who actually stayed on the project. Because since he started writing this like 10 years before, because he really liked the book. He started writing 10 years before, and before was it before 4 years before it reached completion. Yeah. So everyone else either they were like nah or they kind of dropped out. So there was Eva Green, Gemma Arterton,
Mm.
January Jones, Abby Cornish, and Olivia Wilde.
Hmm.
Um,
Just the first two, especially, knocked out the park.
Gee, I'm trying to. Oh yeah, I think yeah, I remember the faces. For now, I was just like, interesting. 'Cause it could have. I feel like quite a few of them were also not too dissimilar to Scarlett Johansson in different ways, in terms of just looks, not acting ability, um, or their acting style. But yeah. On another note about how long it took to write and how it could have been a different film or slightly different. So when he was first writing it, he was considering having it be a Scottish married couple doing a lot of this stuff like, together, who like eventually revealed to be aliens, just like Scarlett Johansson was. But the in terms of the couple, the guy he wanted Brad Pitt to be the guy. Oh, that's how you felt. Yeah. It's just like that. I don't want that guy. But I mean, that would have been interesting. Like a Scottish couple doing all of this stuff instead of the Scarlett Johansson by herself. I don't know.
That would have made for an entirely different story. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess because if it was Brad Pitt and well, yeah, just mainly because because the genders are reversed and he's a guy, it would just make it the tone of the settings would be very very different for the whole movie would be very different completely. Yeah, so it's been
Might not be
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
It could be that again that the husband just plays the role of the person, the clear upper, the motorbike, right? The same Sheila, the woman lures, and then he clears up after.
Oh.
It doesn't necessarily have to be that they both.
Oh wait, I thought Emmanuel said they would have done like getting kidnapping people together. That's how I heard it from you. Maybe I misheard
no.
you.
Oh yeah,
if
no,
it's like
that's kind of how I interpret it, but it could have gone the way Rachel said it as well. Again,
Yeah.
it
Okay.
was him kind of
knows?
that's he was going from that kind of angle. Where it would have gone, I don't know. But
We'll
yeah, it
never
is
know.
better. Yeah. I think this is better the way it ended up. To answer, I think there was someone's question about the little kind of house thing she was in. So it was a stone hut shelter, and it was on the eastern shores of Loch Lomond. And to get there, it had to be taken by boat. There was no real way, there was no road access. And then to get from like the shore up to the place, it was just this footpath, which is, I think, is famous for the people around there, West Highland Way. But, it's interesting. I wonder how many people were in the crew. It was very short credits, so it doesn't seem like there were too many people working on this. Which is, I was surprised at how short they were. I was like, I'm not used to credits being that short anymore. I, even on
Wait,
some
so
of the kind of
Yeah.
the inside of that house, from the like door, you could see it's going upstairs at one point, and it looked
oh,
disgusting. Was that a set or like a real house?
I don't know. Maybe it will come. Maybe it'll come up in a minute. I actually don't know about that,
Uh,
to be honest. Like,
If that was a
I
real
wonder-
house, that was gross. That was a very dilapidated house. Yeah.
To be honest,
I feel like it was half and half. Sorry.
I think I
Were you
would
gonna say, Rob?
assume that it was probably because I'm just reading about it as we're talking. Because I mean, yeah. So the budget of this was 13 million, and just judging by
Oh.
like how kind of small the crew was, I would say a lot of that probably went on Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I imagine they
10 million.
probably didn't have a lot of money to build sets.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like this is a film 4 movie, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what it's at
Yeah,
the beginning.
it's
I was just like,
film.
yeah, because
Yeah,
if it,
and
well, I mean,
BFI. It's not
yeah,
a
but
BFI
like,
player, which I'm upset about.
Yeah,
Anyway.
well, I mean, no. My point is because Film 4 is not like a super big production company. It's a UK production company, right?
Yeah,
So I
they're
don't,
independent.
I don't. Yeah, so I don't think they will have like super amount of money. They have some pretty good stars and stuff. Like they did the Andy Hopkins for Father, right? And like
Yes.
that was that, but even that was like 5 sets at most, and like all the same actors just played in different roles. That was very cleverly done. But like but this was like filmed everywhere with like when it does the sci-fi bits. That I feel like the production went into that, but like 13 million, really fucking hell, Jesus Christ!
They
I
did
feel
a
like
To be
lot
fair,
of
like
that.
it was also financed by the BFI, and I think a lot of people will do stuff on the cheap for the BFI just for the prestige. So it's,
okay, fair enough. If you
Yeah, that makes sense. Can I ask some clarity on one scene actually? Just maybe because I need to see it more and I didn't rewind it enough to actually understand what went on. You know, the horrible scene, quite definitively bleak scene on the beach where we see basically what my interpretation of it is a woman goes out to sea because her dog is kind of like literally getting swept away. She's wants to rescue it, right? That was what my thing. And then she gets stuck, and then someone else goes out after. I assume was her husband goes
Yes.
out after her, and he's this is all the people that said on what's happening on the news, and we had that they go off and they both get kind of like messed up, and because they're literally out to sea and they're gonna drown because it's just like the waves are too insane. It was just suicide to go out in the ocean when it was like that. And then obviously the third guy is the guy in the wetsuit who goes out after them, right? And he goes to try and save one of them, and he pulls out one of them, the husband, I assume. And obviously, I assume the dog dies. Obviously, the woman dies next, obviously, we never see her again, and so he is brought back, the husband, and he's basically on the brink of life. And is it? Am I remembering wrong? Scarlett's a female goes and takes him back to her van, and or is it she takes the guy in the wetsuit back to her van?
She takes the guy in the wetsuit. Yeah, because he's yeah. That's the reason why. Is also because I remember it being a race thing. Because she asks him, "Where are you from?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm from like the Czech Republic." And she's
Yes.
like, "Okay, but why are you in
I hear.
Scotland though?" And I was like, "Oh, what?" Yeah. It was a whole like series of questions that made me think it's a race thing. The reason why the husband died is because I think he tried to go back again to save his wife. But the swimmer guy was so tired from saving the husband. That's why he like pretty much fainted on the beach. Which is actually what I thought Scarlett Johansson was gonna leave him alone, because I thought it was like I thought it was gonna be like, oh, he's one of the good ones, I'll leave him alone. No, she picks up that rock and fucking smacks him in the head. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So she takes him, and that's it. That's him done. But the guy, you obviously have that other scene, which is quite horrible, where the biker, one of the biker aliens, goes back onto the beach. You see that final scene where he walks past the poor crying baby, and goes after. I can't remember who it was, but who does he go after and get? The husband at that point?
No.
He gets
cleaning up
clothing.
after her. So like first the motorcycle guy goes to collect all the wetsuit guy's tent and belongings so that those aren't
He cleans the scene up.
He cleans the scene, so like cleaning up evidence so that they're not. And then he goes on to somehow he knows to go onto the beach and get her. I think it was her jacket maybe that she left behind. I think I thought it was a piece of clothing to clean up all the evidence.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That part was like, okay, they kind of, I don't know, maybe I completely misinterpreted it as that they reference all that on the news, that there's this family that've gone missing, and so despite him cleaning up the scene and everything, is that he didn't quite. Obviously, this was still kind of like public knowledge, because the media somehow find out that this all happened. But obviously, we don't know,
because the husband's body
washed up.
Yeah.
So he
And
leaves
the guy wasn't, or the swimmer guy wasn't there because nobody knew about the swimmer guy. So it was like the family had drowned, and that was a horrific incident for the family. But the existence of the swimmer guy was not known at all because she'd taken him.
Okay, I'm with it now. I understand. If there was the one loose engine, I was trying. Oh, he's basically made it look like an accident. He's made it look like they've gone out to the beach. They went out to see someone made a mistake, and they all died basically. And okay, I got it.
That's
still horrible, but still.
When they found the husband washed up, like they made the aliens made sure to clean up all their involvement, so it just looked like it could have just looked like a completely isolated incident that they weren't involved in. And and you reminded me of something that I forgot to mention too, where I wasn't entirely clear on who that was. Is I think it was when Adam Pearson was getting into the liquid, and 2 times we see one of the aliens with like no outside skin on yet. It was just
the real form.
So like,
who is that? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm wondering if like that's one of the like motorcycle guys waiting for a guy's skin, maybe.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Well, that was my thing, was that they all are working for someone else that we don't really see, and then maybe that was the being that they were working for, the one that they were getting the victims for, the Queen or whatever it was, the one that's making them do. So that was my.
Did anybody notice in the very beginning? I didn't notice it the first time I watched it, but the second time I watched it, when I was more, I don't read a bunch of descriptions. I like going to a movie kind of not knowing much. And the second time I obviously knew it was all aliens. And so in the beginning of the movie, when she's leaving that really tall, like maybe apartment building, and they
Mhm.
show the sky on top of the apartment building, and you see like lights in the clouds. Did
Yeah.
anybody see the lights in the clouds? Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't notice that at first.
Oh, I did. I got to rewatch it now. I got to think about it.
It's the Aurora Borealis.
This time of year.
Uh,
It's fine. Don't know where.
Looks like it's
It's,
entirely within this movie.
funny, uh,
Oh, one question I had is how the heck did those were stunt people, obviously in the ocean, right? Like, how could they do that safely? Like, they really looked
Yeah,
like they
that-
were funny.
That looked like real waves as well. That's like you don't want to mess with.
Probably
Like,
had like a harness or something tethered to maybe like a boat or something up. I don't know,
just
something that kind of
checking
put them.
back.
And I forgot though, the dog and the child, like that's
Yeah.
just kind of like, a child. I'm of the opinion that is like a child doesn't know this is for a movie, and my child is very upset and all by itself, and like for a child to experience like an adult just like disregarding them completely, that certainly has to be really traumatizing, like permanently.
Yeah, I found that really uncomfortable to watch because it was
Yeah, twice as well. It happened twice.
But I think that was important there, isn't it, to kind of show what they were, that they weren't human, or that they were something else. There's a BBC article that that came up, I think from Wikipedia, just talks about the van, and it says that Scarlett Johansson said anything that when I was driving around in this van around Glasgow looking for my victims, I would have Jonathan and the crew in the back of it filming in this bizarre candid camera situation. And Jonathan would talk to me through an earpiece, giving me instructions. Occasionally, he would say, "This guy looks good. Stop and talk to him." And I would be like, "No, are you kidding me? No, I won't. Because if you get into the van, I think you'll find we have a reverse predatory situation on our hands." Or I'd say, "Are you crazy? That man is drunk, and I'd keep driving." So she had them all in the back of the van talking to her through an earpiece, looking out for people to stop and talk to. She said, "Yeah."
So that's
that was
actually quite
interesting.
similar to how they filmed Blair Witch Project. Like, because in Blair Witch Project they basically gave them a GPS tracker and sent them out into the woods where they had to go and find the directing notes.
Really?
Yeah.
Except this plot.
yeah. This, I feel like this one. I would definitely watch this over her Blair Witch.
Well,
You know what? I just remembered something else. If anybody else has any interpretations on it, I don't know what to make of it myself. But I just on the second watch, I noticed as well is like, you know how there's two halves to the film, like one where she's like doing her job, and the second where she's breaking away. And I noticed that when she's breaking away and on her own, she doesn't speak at all. If I don't know, I noticed that she didn't speak at all, and so
Yeah. She's a lot more muted than you think. You think she's going to say something about whatever, but she doesn't speak at all.
She says yes, and maybe she says some stuff off camera. But yeah, she barely says anything after the fog hits. It's like that throws her completely off. And did you say something else to that, Corey? Like, did you say a theory? Sorry.
I just like wanted to. I was just putting that out as a question. Let's see if like anybody interpretation about that. Like, why would that be that she talks less than in the beginning?
I think it highlights like maybe the use allowance, I guess, programming of what she was there to do. Like, if it was a purposeful in terms of the job that she was sent to do, she could communicate. But when the guy, for example, was showing her, kindness, and the woman gave her the cake, for example, she wasn't quite able to communicate because it wasn't really what the types of communication that she's maybe been, I don't know, trained or guided to kind of share, perhaps, as well.
Yeah, she was off script. She was working with the script before, probably.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you can say?
I was just gonna say. I was just remembering how awkward it was when she fell on her face and didn't say anything to anybody who helped her out. That was so awkward. But yeah, go ahead.
That's funny that was real. That actually happened. Just be like, oh shit.
Oh man, I thought that when it's a similar thing to everyone else is saying. I felt that when the fog descended, it was just so off script that it threw her and she didn't understand what to do with this. So the only thing she could imagine was to escape from the situation outside the van because it's no longer safe to drive. And then she gets to the other side, but she just keeps going. And then from that point, she's just disorientated, doesn't know where she is. Very much, even more so, like a foreigner in a foreign land who can't really communicate, who doesn't really understand the customs or food or all sorts of other things. And yeah, there's lots of things like this in other films. It's like, interesting.
I thought she left the van in the. Like, I agree with you, but I think I thought she was leaving the van in the fog on purpose to almost like hide it in a way that I kind of took it as maybe like hoping that the fog was gonna shroud the van so she couldn't be found or like traced as to where she maybe ended up.
I think I think the fog
Maybe.
happens right after she like releases Adam Pearson, right? That's where she really deviates from the whole process, and so like I got the impression that she knew she would be in trouble, and she just wanted to do her own thing and
She's running
hide.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. She really went off of script with that. That was funny though, because like the motorcycle guy, just went past Adam, I swear, and then just left him to do whatever. He's just walking through the field naked, and I was just like, oh, or was I mistaken?
No, you're right.
The motorcycle guy went and got Adam Pearson and knocked him out and put him in the trunk of a car and drove away.
But in not broad daylight, but like I thought, well, why would you not care about like that you could be spotted? Obviously, I know you saw the old lady in the window, for example, but I thought that was interesting, like that kind of like disregard for. There was no like secrecy about what he was doing. He just kind of did it, and also that wasn't obviously. I don't know if that was Adam Pearson's house. Or if that
it didn't make sense because Adam Pearson was walking to the store, but then there's a car there.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Yeah,
she did tell him that my place is 30 minutes from here. I'd like to go. And he agreed rather than getting out. It's after the whole kind of this isn't Tesco's and touch my face, touch my neck kind of scene. Yeah. And she invited him. I to circle back to what Robin and other people saying. I think it's half and half. I feel like it probably was like a dilapidated house, but then they use CG, or it may be some very simple kind of physical effects combined with that to do a cheap but also effective, I guess, effects. Because you lower the light to like crazy low exposure. You could probably get a load of crap paint and stuff from cheap places, dump that on some of the walls, and then use CG to do the rest. And that will probably do pretty well and be much cheaper than full CG, but also cheaper than fully physical.
Yeah, I just posted there's something on Wikipedia about how they did the room with the black room where she traps the men on Wikipedia. But I was more talking about the house when Adam Pearson was walking. Was that meant to be his? I know maybe it doesn't matter. Was it meant to be his house that he was going back to over the hill and he's finding his way home, or was it just a random person's house and car that just the motorcycle guy broke into? I wasn't clear on.
Yeah, I would be surprised if that was his house because it confused me that there was a car there. Like, because he was walking to the grocery store, why would he take the car to the grocery store?
Unless he lives with someone else, is a family member. We don't know at all.
Yeah,
it was quite a middle class area, wasn't it, as well? And I don't think he would be living somewhere like that unless he lived with his folks still.
Oh, I see what you posted, Rachel. Yeah, that other room. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That makes sense. Blackout, custom lighting, reflector for all that kind of stuff. That was really good, effective. Um,
Very cool.
does anyone know if a TV adaptation of this has already been made?
Hopefully not.
Okay, well,
There
the
is
thing is,
there is a there is something similar. It's got a black female lead. I remember, but I can't remember what it's called. And she's like a
Oh really?
I think is she an alien or is she a vampire? And she goes
when
around
did
with
this?
Mel Prey, but I can't remember. It's not exactly like Underskin. I don't think it's called Underskin, but there is something where there
Oh,
is this
okay.
woman who's going around and killing them, but I can't think what it's called.
Ooh. That's. I wonder if that's more directly from the Scottish kind of mythology,
Ah,
because
maybe.
that sounds exactly like it. There is people as well, even though it doesn't make necessary sense. It reminds people as well of like there's another mythology that's more of like a like Selkie mythology, where they do similar things, but obviously this is not a Selkie because it's an alien. But it just reminds many people of many different mythologies because of what's going on. But going back to the TV thing, so A24 and Silver Reed, I think that's the right name of them. Um, they basically, oh, Silver Reel, sorry. They had a bidding war over the TV rights, TV adaptation rights of this film, and Silver Reel won. I don't know what they made. I wish A24 got it. I guess they didn't have enough. They decided we don't have enough money to outbid them. So that was in 2020, in May 2020. So they said they're gonna try and be respectful of both the book and this film, but if it comes out, we'll see. Rob, do you know who Silver Reel are or what they've done at all?
Not off the top of my head. Let me have a look quickly.
I mean,
It's
a question is now: did A24 do TV series? I thought they only made movies.
Oh no, A24 are going into everything now, man.
Oh, okay. Because like I can't. If you told me an A24 TV series, I could. And you asked me, it's like I couldn't answer you. I don't know any TV series they made, or if they have made something. I mean, I might know. It's like, yeah, I don't know any TV series they made. It's just like completely boggled my mind that they've made TV series.
I'm just looking at Silver Reel now. Like literally, the only thing that I recognise that they've done is a Steve Jobs documentary.
and they
That's not.
want to do.
Interesting.
Ugh. I really wish A24 got it because I feel like it would have been really well done
It looks like Silver
and
Reel are
and
a
in a
Chinese
similar
company
vibe.
as well.
Say again.
If
I'm just saying it looks like they're a Chinese company.
Okay.
yeah, if
I mean,
A24 got it, I feel like it would have been similar vibes to the
uh,
film. I mean, you know.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I
they
mean, like,
did. They did Breathe, that film that Andy Serkis directed.
Oh, I haven't seen it. But
No, I've
yeah,
not seen it either.
no
It's
idea.
just like it was one of those things where I was like, "Oh, Andy Serkis directed a film," and then I never watched
Oh,
it.
okay. I mean, like it's A24. They get enough. They have enough films to be done. Hey, eventually, when Kojima finally finishes the script, they'll make his goddamn movie, whatever it will be.
it'll probably be a trip itself, knowing the last game.
Yeah, yeah, but
Um,
like I'm hopeful for that trip. To be honest, it seems like a good trip to be. But and you would have like, and like you know what I mean. It'll be like it'll have this, but it'll also have some lore because Kojima's heavy into
yeah.
lore, and I'll be like, oh right, did you see the picture frame? That picture frame had a story behind it, and I'll be like, oh yeah, cool. like, yeah, at least I've got something to bite onto, and like I understand the story. But like, we'll see if Superhero will actually make a TV series of this. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll see. I mean, like,
If it happens, I really hope that you might already know. I really hope Mikkelsen, Matthew Mikkelsen, how you say his name?
Matt
Matt Mikkelsen.
Yes,
Yeah.
Matt Mikkelsen. Thank you. Is signed onto the project because
Oh,
that's the thing.
absolutely.
He attracts talent. Like talent wants to work with him. With the kind of stuff he comes up with, it's just like have a Matt Mikkelsen. I was like, saying that as a side note, I do want to start watching Hannibal, but
That's a good one.
That's good.
It's messed up, but it's worth it.
Yeah, he's amazing.
It's a very worthy sort of addition to the sort of Hannibal stuff.
Yeah.
It's a prequel sort of to Silence of the Lambs, if you want to call it that.
yeah.
But that's not a bad thing being wordy. It's like a procedural, but it's more. You see more than you want to see in a sense, but it's
yeah.
so like.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Really,
It's basically Hannibal Lecter when he's younger. So like, I really love both versions of Hannibal Lecter. I think Mads Mikkelsen and Anthony Hopkins play it incredibly well.
And
Yeah,
you
he
get
does
to
it.
know that
So good.
what's the FBI guy's name? Is he FBI?
Oh, I know who you mean. What's his face? That dude.
The top
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
You get to know his character is really fascinating too.
Yeah. The main. Yeah, he was in Red Dragon.
The super empathetic guy that does like Sherlock flashbacks. He's I like his character.
Yeah,
I
he's
can't
the
remember his
audience
name.
surrogate. You kind of
Yeah.
you go with him on the journey because you're kind of like you relate to him the most, kind of thing. He's
I
the
think
audience.
Edward Norton played him in one of the movies.
Yeah, in Red Dragon.
Yes. Yeah, that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
I don't remember the character's name. Yeah.
I don't remember either.
I would know it if I just. Oh, it's one of those names. It's probably a boring
It's alright.
name. It's like Jack something.
Yeah. Sorry, this is kind of like drawing back to something that Manuel mentioned before, and I can't shake it out of my mind because I've heard of a Selkie, but I don't know what that is. Could anybody?
It's a sea lion.
Yeah.
Is it a sea lion or a seal? I can't remember.
I'll explain. So it's so it is Scottish as well. Scottish, Irish, and Icelandic.
It's
folklore.
Celtic.
So they all have their own. Yeah, basically, but they all have slightly different versions of it. I think over the years. But anyway, point is, kind of like you said, they're said to live as seals in the sea, but shed their skin to become humans on land. The Selkies are described as being very beautiful in their human form, therefore having great seductive powers. So yeah, basically.
Oh,
I'm sure there's more to that, but that's basically them in a nutshell.
kind of sounds
Yeah,
similar to like sirens, right?
I mean, like,
Yeah, but
kind
instead of
of.
sirens will like sirens will draw them near to them, won't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
But
It's-
Selkies go up to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's because like the famous Selkie story is like a guy was very tricky and like stole her like seal like suit so she couldn't transform back into a seal, and it's part of like a series of like tales. It's like this one, there's like the Swan Lake one, and there's like a fox in you. It's called like Animal Brides essentially, and it's just like, oh right, yeah. It's a lot of folklores have based off animal brides. It's a whole thing about mythical folklore. It's like that's just the Celtic ones. If you go like on the Far East, there's a whole spider one. There's a snake. It's just like folklore tales. It's like, oh yeah, it's just like yeah. The Selkie one and the Swan one is definitely the two most like famous Celtic ones. So it's like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Interesting.
Nice.
Thanks.
I think I say my favorite scene and also my last kind of trivia thing. Unfortunately, with this film, when it was first kind of its first premiere, I can't remember which festival it was. Rob might know. He knows lots of things. Um, it was one of the only ones I think at the festival at the time that was booed, and yeah, she did. It did make her cry, which makes sense. Like you did a lot, and you gone through a lot to do this film. It pushed you in many ways, and then people are booing at the screening.
So that's interesting. So
Right.
I just checked on Letterboxd because it tells you kind of like all of the different releases, and the first festival that it was at was Telluride in America, which is like it's known for being quite a liberal festival. So I'm surprised that they booed it.
Did they mention
What
which
festival?
scene? Which scene did they do?
No, the film in general.
Oh.
When the credits rolled, yeah.
Damn.
The what festival? The hemorrhoid festival? What'd you say?
Telluride.
Telluride.
Oh,
But-
actually, sorry. It wasn't Telluride, Bob. It was. Wait. No. Wait. Let me just double check this.
God damn it, Ben.
Oh,
That
yeah,
that
no,
really.
it was. Yeah, the world premiere. Yeah. They just say the world premiere.
Yeah.
don't- Sorry, I think what made me confused is that at a festival, at the Venice Film Festival, they did an interview
Mm.
and talked about how the world premiere of the movie was one of the worst screenings they attended because the audience booed the film.
So that's
That is
interesting.
So-
'Cause, so it premiered at Telluride on the 29th of August, and in Venice was the 3rd of September. So literally like 5 days later.
Oh.
But this is the thing.
What
Like,
you
this
were
is what I
there.
said before with festivals. Like they're full of people that are just trying to like find the best, the next big thing, one way or the other. So like people are just going into screenings thinking, I'm gonna like absolutely love this, and I don't care what it is, or it's people going, I'm gonna absolutely shit all over this. And
Yeah, they've made their mind up already, haven't they?
yeah. So like once a film starts getting a bit of buzz, like there's always like just these like really extreme reactions one way or the other, and they rarely like translate to real life. Like this.
and and the people who made and starred in the film are there to hear the booing. Like that's horrible.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
worse in a way. Yeah, and you hear that they do like crazy, like 12 to 15 minute standing ovations for films that are good. It's like, wait, how can you clap for that long? Like, I can't, in my mind, imagine clapping for 5 minutes straight, let alone 15 minutes. Is that what's going
Well,
on here?
They must have done it on in shifts.
Yeah, maybe. It's like, jeez.
I'll do an example. Like when I was at Wembley the other night, they did a minute's applause for a Greek footballer that died a few days ago. I can't remember his name. You might remember his name, Rob.
No, I don't know.
I think he played for Sheffield United. He was 31.
Oh blimey.
But we did a minute's applause. I was done after 30 seconds. My hands were raw. So, like doing that for 15 minutes, I think my hands would just fall off.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it can't
I
be
think-
right.
I think that there is I say technique to it. I mean, I'm biased because I used to be a hand percussionist, but given a real example of situation where that happens a lot. So if you ever go to the Royal Opera House Ballet, the Royal Ballet in London, it's quite often, especially with the more is that legendary, the more legendary or kind of the ballet artists, the performance that have been doing this for a long while. It's quite common. Obviously, they're coming out and bowing one at a time. So usually, it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
clapping's going on for like 5 to 10 minutes. But I'm sure those people are used to kind of not clapping loud, but just clapping kind of like
Yeah.
in a way that's sustainable.
Oh,
And since there's
golf club. Yeah.
Yeah, you start for
yeah,
30 seconds and then you stop and then you start again. But everyone's different in terms of rhythm and timing. So it sounds like it's
Continuous.
constant.
exactly.
Yeah.
And since there's a whole like
Yeah.
arena or whatever of tons, hundreds and hundreds of people, it's just constant.
Mhm.
Which
But
is
yeah,
really cool.
that's kind
But
of why I haven't done London Film Festival this year. Is because like last year, like yeah, when you do it as press, you kind of realise that like people aren't really there to see films, and it's not really fun because of that. So like it's everyone just looking for a big story because this is the thing that you don't realise is that if you're there as what is essentially a job, like the worst thing you can do is sit in a room for 2 hours and come out with nothing. So everyone's just looking for like the next story that they can tell about this festival. So if somebody at the end of a film goes, "Oh, that was shit," then that just gets amplified until it becomes the story of that screening. So it's
Mhm.
yeah,
That's a shame.
that's so I feel like that's such a shame to actual good writers.
yeah.
Because if you're a good writer, you can weave a story out of many things. You don't need to go over the top.
Yeah, but this is
And
the
I mean,
thing
Yeah.
I
with
know,
like
you know,
modern
Goes
media
against
as
its own
well,
level.
though, because it's like, because that's the thing, like, because everything's based on like clicks and whatever now. Like, just being honest and being like, this is what the film was, this is my interpretation and whatever. It doesn't get you anywhere, and like, what does get you somewhere is going, oh, we all clapped for half an hour, and it's like, ugh, okay,
Yeah. More to it than that. It's like it
yeah,
should be about the film and what the story it's telling is, that why it's important.
yeah,
And it's not nothing. It's more like this is controversial, so therefore it's bad, so therefore it's a
exactly, yeah.
story to talk about.
It's
It's
all
like,
about the
oh, a
headline
film
now.
was already, yeah, the first review makes or breaks a film these days,
Yeah.
sadly.
So
And the
yeah,
internet
I
would
can
just
imagine like I can imagine what happened at Telluride is probably that most of the room were kind of like, oh, I'm not really too sure how to feel about that. And then somebody went, "Ugh," and then somebody else went, boo, and it just, yeah, went and went. I can't imagine
yeah,
it was
all it
anything
takes
other
is
than
one Alec to just destroy a film, and there we go.
no.
But
But
yeah, man, if you
Yeah,
go to a
you,
film festival, you'll see reasonable
by
people
by
turn
that
into animals.
but
Yeah.
by that logic, he just needs one Rob just to shed a tear, and everyone starts crying. So it's like, we're
Yeah,
just there's a fine there's a balance there.
that's a
Don't worry.
balance.
Well, if you're just shedding one tear, it's not very audible, right? You have to be
Yeah,
like,
well, no,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
But to be fair, like
Rob has
I'm
to
not,
get up and back. Yeah.
I'm
but
not
Rob
saying.
stopped for a while and like,
But to be fair though, at London Film Festival last year, I'm not saying this was me, but like everyone came out of all of us strangers going, that was the most devastating film of my life. And then it got released and everyone went, meh.
Oh,
yeah, it's a
But
different
you
crowd that goes to these things. I've never been to a film festival, but we have like, I guess what we better experience is like, we have a theater here where it's like just like really high quality audio and video. And so for film festivals, and so I would go not during the festival, but afterwards.
Hmm,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've
But
been
to be
to
fair,
one
like,
film festival
oh yeah, and
and it hasn't been released.
you missed the Q&A with the director because you needed a pee.
oh yeah,
Oh,
that was mental.
well, not a poo. I had a bad day.
There was
That's-
more than one. Yes.
But
Yeah.
that film hasn't even been released.
No, a lot of them don't, man. Because a lot of the screenings at a film festival will be people trying to sell their films to distributors, and if no one picks it up, it just dies there.
Oh, that's
It's just
a
dumb.
shame.
It's like if it's any streaming service, someone somewhere probably watch it. I don't get that logic.
that's a whole conversation. I'm sure that if it wasn't this late, I would actually like to get into that. Then I'm sure Rob would as well. There's so much to that
Yeah.
side, and you reminded me, Rob, of how written media is dying. my conversation. I said conversation. It's just reality, and what you said with the kind of quips and all the kind of titles and whatnot. And there's lots of sites that are, if they carry on doing things the older, more respectful way, and they don't follow a lot of annoying practices that make money, they die, and they are dying. So
Mm.
it's a hard one. The digital medium, social media, all sorts of stuff is really it's that classic. It's like that song "Video Killed the Radio Star." It feels like that's happening. It's already pretty much happening,
Yeah.
but
The digital.
it's just getting
Boo.
worse.
I mean, the thing that worries me is like because there's so much power in the hands of the streaming services, and like physical media is kind of dying out, and there's not really any way to preserve it without pirating it. It does make you worry that a similar thing will happen now to what happened in like the 20s or the 30s, where like something ridiculous, like it's like 70% of silent movies just got lost, and it's like
Because they didn't know what to do or care to keep them, and there's no incentive to do it,
Yeah.
and so whatever. Like,
It could. So I mean, obviously, I hope it doesn't, and I feel like all of us hope it doesn't. But let's say, I don't know, Warner Brothers or something, they have a fire or some accident happens at one of the places that keeps a lot of the kind of original files or whatever it is, and they don't maybe have all the copies somewhere else. Usually, most big companies have multiple RAIDs, multiple memory kind of backups. But if something was to happen, it could be like a lot of those films either get lost.
Yeah, I mean, the
with,
thing that
with,
worries me
yeah.
is more just like
get
them
corrupted.
having the thing that worries me is just like the willingness to release stuff. So like, it's like we've seen
Yeah,
already.
the
Like,
Oh,
like with I can't remember what it was now. Was it a Batgirl film that Brendan Fraser was in, and they just deleted it
Yeah,
for
the
tax
Batgirl film.
purposes? And it's like,
Because
well,
of
yeah.
tax reasons,
yeah,
they literally they made a film, they edited it in a rough form, but they filmed and created a movie, but they're like, no, it will be worth more to Warner Brothers to keep it and write it off than release it, because
Yeah.
taxes would be more beneficial for the studio. It's like, then why the hell did you bother to make the film in the first place?
Yeah,
Case.
I'm
Like,
confused.
It's basically it's a practice that happens quite a few times, and Warner Brother are known for doing it. I feel like a
they've
few
done it
times
twice
on
now.
different projects.
Actually, no, 3 times.
yeah,
Yeah, I swear there's an animation project as well.
yeah. Wasn't
Yeah,
there like
they
a
did a
I'm
Looney
not sure
Tunes
if
they
movie.
did it with?
Yeah,
Huh?
Scooby Doo movie and Wile E. Coyote movie.
Oh yeah, that was
Completed
But
movies.
yeah, basically before it gets like the final kind of okay to release, they kind of do a judgment call or whatever in terms of do they think they'll be able to recoup the cost? And if from whatever research or whatever thing they do, if they think they're gonna lose money, if they actually think they will lose money, like they definitely think that, they will not release it and then do a tax write-off. Just say, yes, the cost of doing business to get that money back from the government so that they might have wasted their time, but at least they recoup the money because this film was probably going to lose them more money than it actually cost to make.
It's so
But
bad. Like it's
yeah,
But with that logic, it's like, if taxes were to recoup the cost, then by all means, in my opinion, the taxpayer should be able to see the movie that was made. I'd be like, hang on, don't people like me and you just be like, can't we just see Batgirl in its rough form, even if it's crap? Surely by the taxpayer who paid for this movie, who recouped the cost for Warner Bros., who paid Warner Bros. To see this movie, should be able to see this movie. So why is that not a thing? It's just
it's so
boggles
mad
my
in
mind.
general, man. It's mad.
Warner
that
Brothers are a hit company.
It's mad that it
They are
exists
now.
as like a, I don't know, like a. like a viable way of doing business anyway. Like it's such a weird tax system,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
just I don't know. Like it's so unethical in so many ways. Like it's
Yeah, if I was a director or anyone in the movie that like the actor or the writer or producer or whoever who made like something like Batgirl or the Scooby Doo movie or the Wile E. Coyote movie, I'd be like, oh yeah, I spent like 6 to 9 months of my life making this film that no one will ever see. It's like, yeah, what were you doing in 2022? Oh, I can't say because I signed a NDA. I can't say. I was just doing something, but where is this film? It's like, yeah, I was making a movie, but I can't say what it was and what I did, but it doesn't exist. I can't show you. My life has just been wiped out. My work has been completely gatekept by the studio that owns the rights to this, and it's just like that's just
There's a lot of stuff.
yeah.
Well,
that's-
as long as they're not doing this on purpose, right? They're just
oh, they're doing it on purpose.
what? They're
That's
making
the whole point.
that they won't release on purpose.
Yeah, that's the whole
Sometimes,
point. If
yes.
it's void. If the whole like taxes will completely be void if they released it. Warner Brothers cannot, by law, release the Batgirl movie, the Scooby Doo movie, the Wile E. Coyote movie
But
because of
this
this.
is the other mad thing, though, isn't it? Because like this kind of shows you that kind of like Warner Brothers making like a mid-budget movie is never going to happen again. Because if they don't think that they can release Batgirl starring Brendan Fraser, like you've got two pre-made audiences, right? Like you've got Batman
Yeah,
fans who
Michael
are going to
Keaton,
see
don't
it,
forget.
and you've got all of those
Michael
people who are
Keaton's-
interested in Brendan Fraser again after he won an Oscar. Like if they don't think
Yeah.
that's going to make their money back, then what? Like it's just
They did it right after The Whale as well. That's a good point. It's like, Jesus Christ, it's like, even if the film was rubbish, it's like, yeah, but you released Suicide Squad. That wasn't exactly the best film of all time, was it? They released
to be honest,
very well films.
Someone needs to have a word with their board people because they released Aquaman 2 after all that stuff with Amber Heard, knowing that it's probably going to bomb because the world is full of Johnny Depp fans. But they wouldn't release something that I think people were sort of asking for, and people love Brendan Fraser. It makes no sense.
Yeah, right after, like, people interested in Michael Keaton's Batman still, even if The Flash was bad, was like, well, okay, we're going to not do the same Flash, but we're going to completely destroy Batgirl. So we'll release one of them, but not the other. Then release them both, or don't release either. It's like, what the hell's going on?
we're getting a very
Yeah.
tour of Simon's lips.
Oh. Which slips are we talking about?
Simon, you're on mute, but it's okay. You can go to sleep. If you have,
If you have a
you
favorite
can
scene,
say your
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I was
fantasy.
like I'm like half asleep and like my phone was slipping out of my hands. I did,
Sorry, you
What's your favorite scene?
was it the phone or was it something else?
Sorry, literally
so I get
waiting for it to hit your face.
yeah, pretty much. It was going to hit my face in a second. It's going to do this. Okay, but like favorite scenes. I'd say my least favorite scene was like with a bunch of kids try to like interpret it as robbing her. Favorite scene is like I don't know if it's a favorite scene for the silliest reasons, right? She found a guy to follow. She got out of the van to actually follow him. He got to the nightclub, and she kind of like went, "Oh, this is a bit off script. I'm gonna turn back." Then the bunch of like that hen party just went like, "Come on, love, let's go into the nightclub together." And I was just like, I mean, like, I don't think that's. I mean, like, that's obviously what would happen because girl power and like let's go party. But like, that's not like it's a bit weird that it did happen. We're just like, oh, she actually turned away from that prey because she was too many people. But because she blended in with the other girls, she went and after she caught the guy. I was like, oh, weird.
What I would say is it might be weird because we're not in that context, but so from what I could tell, this is basically an underground. It's not underground, but underground rave, midnight rave,
Uh-huh.
just raving and whatnot. It's not. It might not necessarily be a legal rave as well. It might be one of
Oh.
those, which were much more famous when we were kids, and we weren't going to them, old enough to go to them before our time. But I thought that the girls saw her as someone that, oh, that you're worried that you're by yourself, you're going to this rave. Don't worry, because they probably also done pre-drinks. So obviously they're all a bit kind of yeah, hyper. They're like, oh yeah, don't worry, you could be with us. Don't worry, you can come with us. Because why would a woman be by herself, dressed kind of like she's kind of wants to go to a party,
Mhm.
and there's only a rave going on in that area. So
Oh,
they're
that.
thinking, oh, yeah, she's by herself. She needs company. Yeah, let's don't worry. You can be with us. Let's go. Yeah. It
Mhm.
did make me laugh though. Like, he was not expecting this. She's like, okay, I'll
Yeah,
go
she
in, I
just kind of
guess.
overpowered there. I don't think she had much like she was just like, okay, I can't get out of myself out of this. I'll just go with the flow until I could break away kind of thing. Yeah, like that whole group of women, like I felt like that and seen it before. Just like, yeah, pre-drinks going on and they saw a dressed up girl by herself and they're just like let's all go together kind of. They just like adopted her. Yeah, that rang true for me.
Yeah. Plus,
Oh, yeah,
in many situations, it's protective. At the end of the day, girl by herself, looking like she's kind of lost or whatnot. Maybe she's trying to walk away from a guy. Like you kind of adopt her in until she can get away safely. It's just like, it's
Yeah.
just decent.
yeah. It was just unexpected for this type of film where she already like
Yeah.
captured the dude and like killed him already. I was like, oh, this is not what I expected to happen. But like, oh yeah, it happened. But like, oh yeah, it stood out a bit. I was like, oh, cool, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she was like in the beginning of the film, like she was kind of like more complex than she initially appeared. Like she seemed like in control and powerful, but I think that the whole time she was just like kind of really naive and kind of just uh, at risk of anything going wrong for her. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, agree.
I think my favorite scene was the pivotal turning point for her character, in my opinion, is when I forget the real actor's name, but I'll call him the different man as that's the film he's in next. But yeah, she meets the the guy with the deformity, and she picks him up in his car, and I think the scene in the van was incredibly important for both of them. It was just like she kind of was like she wasn't seeing him as she was just like, because she's an alien, she's not human, she's not going to be repulsed by him. She's just going to be like, oh, hang on. She's just curious. She's just going to be like, what's wrong with you? Why haven't you got a girlfriend? Why are you alone? Why are you coming out at night doing this and that? So I felt that was quite illuminating for both of them, and it was just showing the first time she was showing empathy to her victim, and the second time would be just for like I don't want to go through with this, but I'm going to have to, and the fact she kind of does let him go at the end, which even if it wasn't intentional or she kind of like accidentally did it, I feel it was kind of like she didn't want him to die the way the others did, because she felt that, oh, actually there's more to humanity than what the average person she'd pick up as, and this poor man kind of like represented everything good about humanity, and that's like, despite him looking different and unusual, he still had an innocent soul. He was an innocent soul, a normal man underneath the skin he was in, and she kind of like saw a connection there. I felt, all intents and purposes, it's just like there was like a link that they thought they saw was that she wasn't happy in her skin, and he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy in his skin. So I think she kind of empathized there right then and then, and it kind of like it clicked in her head, and that's when the film changed. So that's why I thought it was quite important.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think of it like that, or I forgot about it as well. When she spent so long looking at herself in the mirror, talking like what you were saying about earlier, I think Corey, different animals and how they see themselves in the mirror and whatnot. But it's like at that moment really kind of jolted her, and it's like really seeing herself. It's like she formed a new appreciation and connection to the skin she was actually in, rather than it just being another suit. This was a person, and then the next time we see that such appreciation, like you've already said, is at the end when she's just holding the skin, but she's not turning around. It's just in the way the skin's looking at her. It's strange, but yeah, it's a interesting one. If you were to look at it from, there's lots of ways. If you look at it from an immigration point of view, the skin she's put on is who she's had to become to live and kind of blend into this new society, this new place. Whereas it's okay, Simon, go to sleep. Simon,
No,
go to sleep.
no,
Okay.
I'm listening. I'm listening. Give me a second. Just let me listen. Just talk.
Just turn the camera off.
The skin
Okay.
Turn the yeah. It's that's what I do anyway. If I remember. Anyway, yeah, the skin she's in is in terms of the immigrant who they have to become to blend into society, whereas the real her beneath is the kind of dark side, not dark side of her, but it's the hidden side of her that society doesn't usually see. Only people close to her know and really understand and get to see, because showing that doesn't help her in this new place that she is or exists. I mean, interesting kind of like way to take it as well. I do wish things were more done in a different way, but that's just my taste. In terms of favorite scene, I think. Wait,
I'm
sorry.
hearing something from Rob's audio. It's like weird
Yeah.
audio.
Do you have? It sounds like when a mobile phone signal interrupts a mic. If you know what that sounds like.
Yeah. Is that better?
Yeah.
I think it's because my phone was
Yes.
near my mic.
There you go. I was like, I haven't heard that sound in a while.
It sounded like hold up, isn't it?
I'm really surprised that came through. I thought that was like a thing of the past now.
Yeah.
It kind of
What did you
sounded
say,
like
Pat?
I said it sounded like dial-up.
it sounded like to me. It sounded like a fly like buzzing right by the mic too.
Wait, if I do this,
Yeah,
does
well,
it happen again? Can you hear it again now?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
so weird. I thought I was like, I thought they'd solved that.
Is it, what G is it on? Is it a 3G, 4G?
It's on 4G at the minute.
Which one?
4G. Yeah.
4.
Fair.
Yeah.
I thought it got better with 4 compared to 3 and 2 and whatnot.
Well,
But
yeah, it was around
guess
the time
not.
that we moved from 3G to 4G that it just stopped happening. Like, but,
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, it's probably that it was easier for it to happen, because obviously the lower frequencies, they're bigger, longer waves. So they travel further, they affect more. They can travel through walls and all the nonsense, whereas 4G, 5G are shorter wavelengths. So they don't carry as much power
Yeah.
and they can't travel through as much. So
Mhm.
that might be why we stopped really noticing it,
Hmm.
because you have to be that close to a mic for it to actually really. Yeah, I still put it on my airplane mode if I'm going into like a radio studio or something. Just in case, I don't want them to go. Can someone turn off their freaking phone? I'm tired of this. That would happen so much, like from uni
What,
onwards. It'd
Christian
be
Bale?
Don't turn off the fucking phone. What?
Oh, man.
Emmanuel, I forgot
It's
what
your,
you're talking about. Do you remember?
I do. One moment, just before I forget. Who's the one who said, "Get your mother's name out of your fucking
Will
mouth"?
Wasn't that Will Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will
That was Will
Smith.
Smith. That was at the Oscars. Keep my wife's
Yeah,
name out your fucking mouth.
that was the start.
With Chris Rock.
Oh,
Was it? Yeah.
Sorry, for some reason, someone referenced it, and for some reason, I thought, wait, is that some comedy film I've seen at some point? No, it's real life. Okay, cool. But yeah, I finished my point, but I didn't say my favorite scene yet. That's what I was about to say. My point was the whole, the different, I guess, the different way you can take it as immigration. Like, this is an immigrant. Like, the human skin is a new situation. It's the new persona, how they blend into society compared to the hidden side beneath them that they can't show to the world. They can't show to the place they're in because then they won't fit in. They'll be strange and they won't be accepted. I was like, it's very interesting in that side of things. Um, I think my favorite thing, or I would say favorite scenes or favorite moments, um, more visually and artistically, not because of any enjoyment. um, First one was when the first victim starts sinking, and I'm just like, this is how they're doing it. That looks good. It's very black and inky. The effects team, filming team, they all did very well. Yeah, I like that. And then the scene that was like Get Out, the creepier. It's like he's in the water. And it's like, ooh, how they gonna spin this? How they gonna do this? And then you see the other guy looks like he doesn't have his eyeballs anymore. It looks like his eyes are hollowed out, which is a very cool um just aesthetic and view anyway. It makes me think of something I made actually, an artwork. I don't know if you remember Ben Develio many years ago when he was at school. Like she has like no eyes. It's like cracked and she can stain shit. Anyway,
Oh,
that
damn,
look,
that takes me
that
back.
look, yeah. I was like, oh, that looks really cool. Like that's good. I get what Corey was talking about, the kind of dark horror aesthetic. Yeah, this is good. That's good. But then it got creepy, and I was just like, "You okay, Camilla?" Now it's just crossed the line with this person being popped. That even makes me feel this way. Anyway, and then the third favorite moment was the ashes at the end, where she, even though I hate the fact that she died like that, um, it's a cool kind of visual and it's thoughtful shot. Her ashes are kind of ashes and snow kind of mixed
Yeah,
together and they're coming back down in a way. Even though it's not necessarily her ashes, it kind of made me think of that.
it might as well be.
Just
Yeah.
just Yeah, since we just saw how Brandon with Chris. Yeah, yeah, that's my favorites.
Hmm.
I was
Yeah, can
kind of surprised you picked this film that had the scene at the end after um it still does it, and maybe it's because it was so traumatic. It still feels like not long ago I picked a film that had something. I was just like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna pick a film that has something like this for a very long time.
Oh,
But
Yeah, I was gonna mention that because the ending is the thing that I kind of like. I don't really. I'm not a fan of how they end this film in a sense. I love the content of most of this film in terms of story and structure. I just how it ends her character was kind of obviously I know it was intentionally bittersweet and horrible, but it's more bitter than sweet, but just because it's just like obviously she gets raped practically, and that's bad enough. And I felt it would have been better as an ambiguous ending where you just see her just take her skin off and just become herself and just walking off into the wilderness, and you don't really know what happens to her. The fact that that guy comes back, douses her with gasoline, and then lights her up, I just felt like that was just a bit too cruel. It was a bit too much. Just in yeah, realistically speaking, I don't want to sound like Alec in this sense, but the fact that he was chasing her in the wilderness for what seemed like 5 to 10 minutes, and then he notices when he rapes her that she pulled off half her skin and she's literally hurting, and he runs away scared, and it's like that was good enough for me. I was like, okay, he's traumatized for life. He's not doesn't know what he's seen. He's kind of like this is not a human. Runs off, but the fact he comes back, he somehow finds her again after 5 to 10 minutes, the exact same spot, and douses her with gasoline. That was his first thought to do. It's like that. I know humanity can be cruel and evil, but I just can't see how one man would do something that despicable.
Yeah,
to be
Just
honest,
I
yeah,
think I know what you mean. Like, I don't think it's it didn't strike me as
extra horrible,
unrealistic, but it did strike me as a bit like clunky, I suppose.
excessive.
Because it kind of like it's
yeah,
weird. Because yeah, he's seeing like this really sort of like just bizarre thing, and I think it almost takes away from the reaction a little bit, because what he does after is quite calculated considering like the state of shock you would expect him to be in.
Yeah,
Um,
it's quite like
yeah.
it's so like it all happens so quickly as well. It's just like you can't really expect it to happen, and him in his right mind. If anyone else would have done it, he just got in his truck and just drove off. He'd be
Mm.
like traumatized for life. It's like this is horrible. But if it wasn't that horrible, and it was just a normal woman that he just found repulsive, then maybe he would go back. But at the same time, it doesn't. He was still shocked by what he saw,
Mm.
and it's kind of like
I
yeah, and
wonder
it's
if
just a cruel ending.
I think like first of all how he manages to catch up with her that eventually like when she
Mm.
first runs away and she manages to hide successfully it seems and loses his track, she messes up when she goes back to his truck, and then
Mm.
that's
Yes,
where he
yes,
gets a
absolutely.
jump on her. And then as for the whole like coming back to destroy her, I have to wonder, like maybe he's done that before. Like maybe he's attacked like a regular human woman before, and that was his routine to go and
Maybe.
destroy the evidence. And I think all the
yeah,
more, like I would understand a human wanting to destroy an alien. That would be terrifying to happen
Mm.
upon an alien. So I kind of get why he would want to a destroy evidence that he like attacked and raped somebody, and b extinguish an alien in your world, like that's just terrifying. So
Mm.
I kind of get that he would want to kill her and have the evidence away with.
I think it could have needed more shots of him. One of it happened right near the truck, right near the base of like his security, which would be the logging truck, and him being like, you saw shots of his face being repulsed and terrified and all these things, and then ScarJo's female is just like, kind of like, okay, I'm taking off shedding my skin metaphorically and literally just of my own self. And I think it should have happened in a nearer perimeter for the truck to actually him to kind of like whirl his mind a bit, witness everything that's happening, and then being like, okay, yeah, I'm watching this woman take off her own skin. This is completely fucked up. I'm gonna have to destroy it. The fact he does, because there's no logical way he'd be able to see what she's doing, because he's run off. He doesn't see her take off the rest of her skin until he gets back with the purpose and intent of lighting her up.
That could
Yeah,
have been-
Well, he saw it like he was terrified from just realizing he ripped her
Just the
back,
back.
exposed,
Yeah,
and saw what was
Right.
underneath, and he connected the dots, and he's like, "This is not your average person." I think at that moment he was determined. Okay, I've got to like wrap this up and
Need to-
and wrap. Yeah. So and what he saw when he came back, which is what she had taken off almost half of her skin. I think that just like solidified his plans. Like, okay.
Yeah, that would do it for me.
it
I
still
think
would've-
that's what I'd do to change it. Just kind of like make it so he sees everything she does. So he's completely like, okay, she's an alien, definitively, no question about it. I need to get rid of her. The fact he only just comes back already
I
with
think
it.
I think like if it had been a human woman, he would have done the same thing, like kill her and destroy, like burn her, so like there's no body evidence, like DNA on him, of him on her, and all that stuff. I think he would have done that with a regular woman, possibly.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
quite horrible.
It does kind of change the message of it, and it's still pretty brutal. But I think I would have maybe liked if she'd have done it to herself. Like if it would have been that she's gone through sort of everything that she's gone through. She's tried to. She's found some empathy for humans, and she's tried to kind of like live among humans. Found that she can't, and all that it's culminated in is this. And I think it would have been quite effective if she'd have just gone like
Yeah,
this isn't worth it. Like I'm just gonna go and get this guy's petrol, and like it's.
Yeah, maybe I would have preferred that, actually. It would make sense that she could, like, maybe stolen a lighter from him, some other person that she'd met along the way, and just had a bottle of whiskey on her, something like that, and she's been like, okay, yeah, I don't know who I am. I've kind of, like, exhausted everything that I want to do and want to be, and I don't know where I fit in it. And she just wanted to end herself, because she knows that those guys on the bikes will be after her anyway. So I thought that was going to be something that was going to resolve, because you said that final scene of him looking into the wilderness of just, I don't know what it meant, is that he was looking for. That's what I interpreted it as. Oh, or at least one of them. And it's just like she was going to be kind of like taken back by her people because she failed her mission, failed her assignment. So she was doomed either way. She was doomed to die either by the hands of a human or an alien. So that was sad about it. So maybe it would have been better if she killed herself.
And that's how it happened in the book, right? She kills herself in the book.
Yeah, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
And I was going to come on to that. So first off, I agree with you, Ben, and in terms of how it's shot. Of course, because of the type of film it is, the type of arty film it is, they're not going to care. You kind of hyper focus on certain things. Don't give enough context. You just focus on that moment, the kind of emotions in that moment, the visualizations around that moment, and let that soak in, and let people imagine the rest. It's just like, it's not, the typical kind of I said, if you actually want to make something seem more plausible or less janky, it was just more like other films. but yeah, so yeah, I agree with you on that. And I also thought the same thing, Corey. I was going to say, yeah, he's probably done this before. And he seemed like the type of person, or in his actions when he like started in X, Y, and Z, he seemed like the person who's done this multiple times. Um, but yeah, so yeah, it's horrible as that is. On the flip side, and it's quite interesting. What I was hoping would happen when I was watching the film is actually close to how it ended in the book. So, though for different reasons. So, so I was hoping at some point while she's getting attacked and whatnot, that she was going to go, you know what? I'm going to use one of my last alien kind of last resort type tactics, type tricks, whatever. It'll expose me, whatever it is. But she never did. And in the like when we was talking about these kind of things, I was thinking, I wish that so in the book, she um she's basically I can't remember why she picks up the guy even though he insists because it's not to kind of kill him or anything, it's just to give him a lift because he keeps insisting he needs a lift. I don't know if she's running away from kind of like her folks in the same way. Maybe she is. But because of the crash or whatnot, and she's no longer able to move, the only way she can destroy all the evidence is to blow them up. So she blows herself up, destroying all of the evidence that would, yeah, be behind of her, any other guys. It's like such a great explosion. It basically atomizes her. So none of her body is left, even her original alien body. Um, but I was imagining that it would be a cool scene and achieve a similar purpose, I think. If she had a fallback method like that, where she could set herself on fire, to hence kind of burn the evidence. So not necessarily explosion, but he's attacking her, and then she decides, you know what? I'm gonna hold you closer I'm gonna set myself on fire. And kind of like in the way where in the books, she in a very human way, she smiles, getting peace from the fact that she's not gonna leave a trace behind. Like in for whatever reason that kind of makes sense at the time in the book. She's not gonna leave any trace behind. She feels at peace. She gets a kind of human emotion of like serenity or something like that. Um, and I would like something like that as an ending in the film where she's holding him tight. You can see her being like, yeah, and she's kind of slightly smiling or slightly at peace with herself while she's burning, and this other guy's burning, and he's getting what's coming to him. He's having a horrible time. He's yelling whatever, but she's quiet. She's just at peace. And then you have the kind of fire and the ashes and all that scene. And I think that would be great because in the other way, it kind of it still shows what happens to like different immigrants in different situations, like what they go through and what they have to resort to in different situations. So it's like, yeah, like obviously I don't think he wanted that feeling. He wanted to leave us with that kind of crappy, uh, this is crap, rather than the actual bittersweet of it really sucks, but I'm glad she was at peace and he got what was coming to him.
Mhm. I would have. I think. Yeah. Endings like this, where it's just like so bleak, and you just feel like no. She had a horrible ending in this, so I think I would have appreciated if it had a bit of that more bittersweet angle for sure. Yeah. And as for just like, I'm glad you brought it up, the whole like, you being surprised I picked a movie with that in it. I felt really bad for you when you felt so bad that you picked that, and I hopefully like I remember a bit of what I said to you is just like that's like it's unfortunate, but it's true that it's part of human experience. And it's just like what I love about films is like it could touch on these like sometimes painful things, but I hope that you don't limit yourself in what you want to bring to what you think is a good thing to or interesting or impactful and important thing to bring to the film club. And I think for me, just personally, I think the age difference and like the victim was probably helpful to me in this movie. So it was not pleasant still though, of course. Yeah. Yeah, really, really horribly sad. And when you said like the director didn't want to give us any relief at all at the end, it made me think of another horrible movie that's been in this film club, and where it was just like bleak from beginning to end. And what was it called? Oh, Requiem of a Dream.
Oh,
Of a Dream.
Oh, yeah.
That was just awful. I wasn't part of the film club yet, but I watched it. I don't know why, because I I had seen it ages before, but like it was just awful. That director wanted us to suffer. And it's like, God damn it.
Yeah.
And
So I
yeah.
think thank you. I forgot to yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. With Requiem for a Dream, I feel like I kind of let it pass for that one because I felt like it needed to be like that to really represent the a potential life of anyone who gets addicted to drugs. I thought it, especially at the time, it was very well timed. But yeah, I thought it really needed that to make that impact, to be like, if you're thinking about it, this could, any of these endings or many worse ones could be you. So just, this is your warning.
Yeah.
That it, so yeah, I think I actually did need that beat. I agree with you. Bleak. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, there Oh my goodness, off with a bang. No, why did you pick it, Emmanuel?
Long story short, they all know. One of my film, to be honest, this feels like one of those kind of film festival kind of things, like Rob was saying, or just film industry type things. I was working a lot in film and TV at the time, and one of my film friends, there was quite a few of them that were talking about it, but I never really paid attention. I was doing so much stuff. And then one of my friends, still good friends with her to this day, she dragged me to see this film with her. She's like, "You got to see this film. It's amazing. Like, it's something else." And I was just like, "Okay, cool." I mean, she's a horror film buff. She also makes and directs horror films. She loves gruesome, bloody films. I mean, that is her all over. She really did not like Alien, Romulus. She likes good films. I would say well-made films, good story. Anyway, point is, she dragged me to see this film. I remember at the end being like, "What the did I just watch?" I was just standing there, just no words, watching these credits go up backwards, thinking it's meant to be like that whole kind of feel kind of creepy in a way. But anyway, so it's going in reverse and all that stuff. And I'm just thinking, what? I felt almost traumatized watching it. I was just like, you know what? I have to put my friends through the same thing I went through. I did, the thought line wasn't the best when I think back about it, but they have to go through what I went through. This was mad. Like I don't know
Misery
why I
loves
was
company. Yeah.
yeah. I did not expect Pat to have the reaction he had, so I'm really sorry about that.
Aw.
Um,
Oh, that
but
was such a
because yeah, he was physically sick.
that was the best experience, because I just vividly remember because it was when we were living in Brighton, and I was sitting in my old like office room, and I just remember sitting there for like nearly 2 hours thinking I am so miserable, and then and then the bloody fox said chaos reigns, and I was like, well, that's hilarious. And I just remember like hysterically laughing and being like, I'm losing my mind.
Exactly.
It was
Oh
so
man.
ridiculous.
Oh man. If you ever do watch it with Ben. Don't watch it with by yourself. Because I feel like
Yeah.
at least you can share in the experience and you can lighten it by Ben saying some nonsense. If you watch it by yourself,
Yeah.
it's
That's me
not a
with
good
every
time.
film.
Oh.
It's pretty.
Do you know what? Yeah, I'm the kind of person where you do pique my curiosity when you say something is just like really just like so impactful like this. This movie comes up in the club so many times. I'm just like the curiosity is starting to build, but
Yeah. There's like 5 films that kind of like left an impact. One of them.
yeah. That's why I watched The Skin I Live In, because Ben was just like so discouraged. I was like, okay, I gotta see how bad this is.
Another
Yeah, that was
skinny
Camilla.
film. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Camilla, by the way.
Wow. See,
Yeah,
she picked Funny Face and The Skin I Live In. Of what of range?
yeah. Great range. That's why I married her.
Iconic.
Yeah, so I
Sorry.
guess we could no worries. It's getting a little late, so I guess we could finish our favorite scenes. I haven't done mine yet. My favorite like impactful scene was when, we had already seen them go into the black water time and time again, but it was the first time we saw what was going on underneath the water, and just like the sound design and their appearance, and it was just like so immersive and disturbing. And seeing, the new guy see what's going to happen to him, right? And the older guy is just like disgusting looking, like his skin's all loose, and when that sound happened and his insides get sucked out, I guess it was, that just like really got me. That really spooked me. It was very well done, maybe too well done. And my second favorite scene, I guess you could say, I was so amused. I don't know if it was intentionally amusing, but when and I felt so bad for her. It was a roller coaster of a scene when she's first being intimate with that guy that took her in and was taking care of her. And she first figures out that she doesn't have the anatomy required for what they were trying to do, and she like freaks out and goes to the end of the bed and like spreads her legs and holds a lamp down there. And it's just, I just thought it was so funny when she was like really trying to get a good look. I thought just really, I don't know, I don't think that was supposed to be that funny. I found it really funny. But yeah, and I felt bad for her. But yeah, those are two standout scenes for me.
So that was actually one scene that made me wonder whether it was set in the past. Because I was like, like just the image of somebody like rushing to a lamp and then holding it like that, I was like, well, nowadays you just use your phone. And then I was like,
Yeah.
wait, this is nowadays.
Oh man, what you said, that's quite funny. Yeah, she didn't have a phone, did she?
Mm.
What I was gonna say, you reminded me about the sound design. I started watching it in headphones before I switched to a sound bar and surround whatever whatnot. But in headphones, the sound design was great. In the beginning of the film was actually kind of overwhelming, and looking back on it, I realized that's on purpose. If you was an immigrant coming to a new country, it's gonna feel overwhelming. All of the new stuff kind of coming at you, and all the different kind of things. So yeah, but yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you. Great sound.
I love the sound design. Yeah, off the bat, like, cause like when they're all in surrounded in white, and they're like she's taking the clothes off of that woman, and it just like I was listening to. I wish I'd done headphones because I agree I could hear so much better with my headphones on. Even then, this like the muted, muffled audio, it just sounded so interesting. Yeah.
Is it
Pat,
Pat?
Rob, did Rob do? Both of you have right?
No, yeah, I think mine would probably be the beach scene. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, we've already spoken about the baby, but there's just something about like the simplicity of how it's shot that really like messed with me. So it's when she hits the guy around the back of the head with the rock, like it's just because I think at that point you've already seen like the black water already, and because that's kind of like so sort of heightened and fantastical, there was just something about the way that this was shot, and it's just a very simple, just like poof, and that was it. I was kind of sat there going, "Oh, that one hurt." Like it was, yeah, it was just really like, and I think as well, because you're kind of far away from it, and it's just a still camera that's just watching it happen, and there's no kind of like, there's no real change in sound or anything. Like it's quite unceremonial, and I think because of that, it kind of left me like it sort of happened, and then I was sort of thinking, man, that was brutal, and then I was like, but the film's not telling me it's brutal. Like I don't, I feel like am I? Should I have found that really brutal? Am I overreacting? And then I kept sort of thinking back to it, and then I thought like, man, that was actually really clever because that really got me on edge more than anything else.
I think because the style of the filming of that was just like really POV, like you were
Mm.
a nearby
Yeah.
person watching that. That's just pretty intimate.
It's kind of like later on when Adam Pearson gets stuffed into the boot, and then there's like a neighbour who's just sitting there like still watching. It kind of feels like you're the neighbour when that's happening, and it's like because the film's kind of presenting it as like quite it's presenting it in quite a non-judgmental way. It's kind of like I don't know. It's really yeah, it really messed with me. Because I have this thing where like I find like true crime stuff really unsettling because I always start thinking like, oh man, what if I was in that situation? Like, and it's just like I don't know. I start sort of questioning because I think once you start sort of like seeing true crime in like kind of like an empathetic light, I sort of start going like, oh shit, like I'm kind of, I don't know. I hope this isn't something I'm vulnerable to, and it's like, and it is a similar thing with this because it was presented in such like a matter of fact way. And such like it almost like normalized it to the point where I was going like, oh my god, anyone could hit anyone over the head with a rock. It's like, yeah,
And you're starting to sound like a crime psychologist. I mean, this it might be the first step. Only you're interviewing criminals,
dude, I
doing
wouldn't
psychology
last.
statements in court.
Right, a Netflix documentary is enough to keep me up at night. Like,
Okay, yeah, maybe not then. Yeah, maybe not. I think, but on my side, I think the more kind of true crime stuff I've seen, for me, it's made me more and more suspicious and not trust a lot of people, or not a lot of things surprise me. And maybe that's because we're just at this age now. We've experienced a lot of life. I know we've got much more to experience, but like, I'm just like, oh, that happened. That's messed up. Not surprised. Humans.
mm,
It's just like,
yeah.
it was just like, in the amount of times you see someone who someone else might be like, oh, but she looks so innocent and blah blah blah. It's like you know nothing about this person.
Mm,
There's tons of actually, I'm not good. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable going to bed. So let me not talk about stuff any. But it's
yeah.
just like,
Something I've
uh,
found really
That's a
unsettling.
common.
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, actually, no. Maybe I've gone through a big phase of watching true crime, and there was a time where I actually would listen to it to fall asleep because
Oh man.
it was just so steady. Like it wasn't really like right. It was just so like steady and dark, and it relaxed me in this weird way. But I will. I like. Yeah, I was gonna say something that was just not suitable for that time, so I'll skip it.
Uh,
And
there's,
then Jeffrey Dahmer
there's a
murdered
video
12
that's
people, one after the other.
there's a video that's gone viral this week, and you might have seen it. So it's like a policeman's body cam footage, and they basically go into this woman's house, and it turns out that like 4 years ago she's killed her parents, and they're just like stored upstairs in the wardrobes, and it's just how calm she is about it that is really unsettling because she's like, oh yeah, when you go upstairs, like beware because like one's in the wardrobe, and then like they found the bodies and she's just standing there going, oh, cheer up, you've caught the bad guy, and I was just like, what, like,
What?
like it's just really like I don't know, it's
how
scary the
how old
way.
was she?
Sorry,
How old was she?
probably about 40.
Okay. To be honest, she was probably a psychopath.
Yeah, and that scares me as well to be honest because it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a really unsettling thought that I mean, because to me, the things that make you human are like your emotions and how you react to things and how you sort of, yeah, essentially emotions. It is really unsettling to me to think that somebody can live without them. And it's, yeah, I can't kind of, I don't know, man. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like seeing her face as well. Because I was talking to Rachel about it and she was like, oh, yeah, but this was, because if she killed them 4 years ago and then 4 years later the police have turned up and she's kind of like almost confessing to it, you've probably got to a point where you've got used to living like it, and even that I was like, oh man,
Like Psycho.
I just can't like
Oh, yeah,
I can't imagine just
Basically.
being in
desensitized.
that mindset where you're like, oh, I've done that now, so there you go and here we are. Like
But
it's just,
but
yeah.
that's the point. You were very kind of much level balanced human compared to that. So it makes sense that you can't imagine that. I
And then
don't think
that's
most
where I end
people
up. That's where I end up spiraling with it all. Because then I'm like, oh, if I can't imagine how that person is dealing with this, then Well, it's because I've never been in the situation that this person has been in. So if I've never been in that situation, and then it just goes on and on forever, and then I end up sitting up all night like, oh no.
No.
Well,
Oh,
what's
Rob.
really disturbing is
No.
like how like different like when I remember when I was at the age of realizing just how much everybody is capable of when certain situations arise, and also just the like level of diversity in like how we think and how we feel and how different we could be from like another human being. Like we all have so much in common, but we could all have so much like difference too. And it's just, and I guess I'm sorry, I'm tempted to say what I was going to say earlier. It's not too bad, I think, but like just like what it was a common thread and like finding out who was like serial killers and all that stuff. Like friends and family would swear up and down that they had no idea and they would never guess that that person would do that. Just like
Just
we
like
could
Dexter.
yeah, we could get it. We could get people so wrong. Like we do have like intuition that could like sometimes be on the ball, but like I think we're also like biased. Our biases can be really strong too. So
Yeah.
I mean, like,
so,
I was gonna say, if you wanna like train yourself to be that person, just get a retail or like customer service job. You'll slowly lose your empathy. And like wanting to. It starts off like, man, I wouldn't mind punching someone in the face too. Like, man, I could probably kill a customer. You get there eventually. Trust me.
it's a shop of horrors. It's a shop of horrors through line. And then next thing you know, he's just at the back of the shop. Shopping up
Yeah.
I think you were in Asia when this happened, Simon. So I don't think I've told you, but so the other day I saw a bloke on the train who used to be a regular customer when I worked at Ladbrokes, and it was so funny because this particular guy was somebody who did like a really dirty protest in the toilet one day. And I had to, so basically what he'd done is he basically pooed and like spread it all up the walls, and I had to ban him
What
for
the
it.
fuck?
And when I banned him for it, he said it wasn't me. If it was me, you'd know about it. And I was like, no, but the problem is that I do. And so I had to ban him for it. And then this would have been like 6-7 years ago now. And then the other day I was on the Elizabeth line, and he got on and he kind of looked at me as if he knew me, and I looked at him thinking, what's his problem? Why was he looking at me? And then I was like, oh shit, it's him.
oh shit, it's the shit.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
You see the worst of people in betting shops, man. Like if somebody loses loads of money, like you'll be surprised what they'll do. Like
yes, we all know that.
That's just humans. Yeah.
Yeah. If you have to work someone, even go, I don't know, like McDonald's really sucks, but it's not a betting shop. It's probably a step above a betting shop, just above.
That says it all.
There was one guy
But
once, like,
yeah,
he lost like $2,000 on one of the fruit machines, and I remember he came up to the counter and he asked for a cup of water. And he was so calm. But this is another thing where I was like, this is so weird how he's acting. But like he came up to the counter and he was like, oh, sorry, mate, do you mind if I have like a cup of water? And I was like, yeah. And I gave him the cup of water. And he went back over to the machine, like calm as anything, poured the water over the machine and then punched it and broke it. Like he punched it so hard that he broke the whole machine. And then he just casually walked out. And I was stood behind the counter like, what the fuck just happened? Like it was so weird. Like it was just...
it's interesting how some people take out express their anger. They have that moment of calm before the storm. Whereas most people just get mad in the standard way and just beat up the machine. But nah, you have guys like him. Or you have people who throw chairs across the store.
Oh yeah,
who break the TV screen.
At least it was to the machine, not anyone else.
Well, that's the thing.
I mean, people get caught in the crossfire.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
There was a couple of times where I saw somebody lay into a machine, and both times I was kind of thinking, well, if all you're punching is a machine, I don't really care. As long as you're not punching someone else, and yeah, have at it. Like,
Yeah. It's either the machines collateral damage or staff it's themselves. It's rarely I've seen beef between actual customers break out. Obviously it happens, but it doesn't seem as common.
The only time I saw
think,
it was because
unless they really know each other.
Yeah, the only time I saw it was because there was a guy who was taking so long to put his bet on that the person behind him missed the window to put his on.
Yeah, they like to do that. Say, I would have won. It's all your fault. They're just like, but there's a kind of, I don't know if you've heard this many times, and even though I know there's much more to this because obviously addiction, but sometimes I hear it's like, did anyone put you at gunpoint and force you to come in here? Did anyone make you come in here and get? Then why are you being like this? You can leave. You don't have to stay here.
I always remember there was this guy who was like, it was like the FA Cup final. I don't know why that actually reminded me, but it was like the FA Cup final or something like that. And this bloke came in with his son, and his son was only about, I'd guess about 10, 11. And he was like, oh, because it's the FA... He was like, no, it was quite nice, to be fair. Because he was like, oh, because it's the FA Cup final, do you mind if I put 50p on for my son? And I was like, oh, I don't know, like, who you're putting a bet on for. And he was like, it's my son, he's over there. And I was like, oh, well, I haven't noticed him. And he went, he's just there. And I was like, yeah, I've not noticed him, mate. You can do what you want.
Oh, man, that is such oblivious, or whatever the word. Sorry, Pat, were you going to say something? You also have your favorite scene to say, don't you?
Simon. I think Simon hasn't done favorite scene either, I don't think.
Oh, no, I did my favorite scene. It was the girl. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, sorry about that.
I forgot
I'm not
about
really
the girl.
sure.
Anyway.
Maybe the van scene.
The van scene?
Which one?
That's a lot of it.
When the teenagers tried to bust into it.
Oh, really?
Oh. That was scary. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
That was kind
for
of
me,
fascinating
the whole time thinking that they'd made a production error by leaving the window undone. But no, I thought that scene was done really well. But like, I don't necessarily think I have a favourite scene, but sort of like a collection throughout the film, like that I think were done really well.
Yeah, that scene's another one where it was like, because of the way it was shot and what was actually happening, and like the way that she was handling it, it was just really kind of like, I don't know, just really unsettling.
I'm trying to think how I felt. I think at first I was just like, oh crap, what's going to happen? What kind of nonsense is this? And then when she was reacting and she was just driving off, I was like, makes sense. You're just like, oh, just some nonsense humans. Okay, I'll drive to another location. Oh. Any final words? That I know haven't helped in derailing this conversation many times.
It's good.
I mean, if we can't derail the conversation now, what can we do?
I wonder if this is our longest film call.
To be fair, this happens every time Alec's not here.
I should just press stop recording on that.
Who's next? You haven't done their reveal.
It's Ebony's film.
Yeah, so
Rob is not.
Yeah, so Alec.
It's Ebony's film.
Alec asked me to announce it for her. And it's a weird one actually.
Okay.
So if I told you the two films that they picked this round, you would definitely think Alec picked hers and she picked Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. But the film is actually it's a bit of a childhood favourite of mine, because I watched it like just when I was getting into film, and it was like around the time where I would have been watching like Fargo for the first time and like Pulp Fiction and all of those kind of films. And it's a film that I don't know if it holds up or not. I don't think it's actually a very good film, but it's a really interesting idea. Well, it was a really interesting idea to me at the time, because it's 4 different directors and they all basically did a segment of the film each, and the film.
Oh,
it's one of those.
Wait,
It's what?
4 rooms.
Yeah, 4 rooms. So
Oh,
Quentin
the one you
Tarantino
watched.
did a room. Robert Rodriguez did a room. Alison Anders did one, and I forget the other one. Alexandra something. But yeah, they all did a room each, and it's basically like it's a story of these 4 different rooms in a hotel, and they're all kind of like loosely tied together by like a central narrative about a bellhop going from one room to another.
Huh.
But
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see why you thought that would be an Alex
got
film,
me
because
to
it'd
watch
be like,
this a
I want
while
to talk
back.
about this.
Oh yeah, that does sound a bit. Oh, that is an interesting theory. Yeah, that does sound like an addict film. Yeah.
I do think like it kind of comes across as like an in joke that you're not in on, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think me, Pat, and Alec, and you are the only ones I've seen it already.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
haven't
it's-
seen
Yeah,
it.
You
I
got me
have-
to watch it before we attempted the script
Hmm.
that I
Yeah,
ditched.
yeah, that's why it seems such an Alec film.
It's an interesting concept because it's like weirdly enough Madonna's in it as well.
Oh yeah.
Well, okay, if like Taylor Swift was in it, then it's definitely an Ed film, right? Or like
Taylor Swift
Oh,
was
so-
in like 6
oh.
when this came out.
or what? Yeah, but
Although,
like it would
to
have
be
to be
fair,
another
Miley
sort of like
Cyrus was in Big Fish when she was like a 6 or 7.
yeah.
Miley Cyrus was in Big Fish.
Yeah, she's one of the kids who goes up to when they go up to the witch's house. She's one of the kids
Yeah.
that looks through the gate.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, that's adorable in its own way.
I haven't seen that one in a long time.
Yeah.
It was a good film.
Well, at least this one won't suck like the last one that she picked.
No,
Oh, man,
that's,
I wasn't
that's
ready.
Well-
I wasn't ready to press stop recording again. That was a perfect ending line.
it's
I mean, like if there's like a musical element to 4 rooms, we'll see.